Let's get peppy. Welcome to PEP 231. That's PEP or Planet Extra Podcast. I am Chaz Licciardello, a host of Planet America on ABC Australia, and this is an official podcast of the ABC. Say hi to the Ombudsman for me. A lot of people have been doing that lately, Dave. Let me tell you. Not for PEP, for Planet America. A lot of Charlie Kirk fans out there. On PEP, we cover all the stuff that's too nerdy for TV. If you're listening, you can find us on YouTube at the PEP with Chaz and Dr. Dave channel, and you can find highlights there too as well. And we're on Facebook at the Chaz from Planet America channel. You also find timestamps and show notes in our blurbs, and if you leave a comment under our current episode video, we are likely to see it. You can also tweet us or blue sky us at PEPCHASDRDAVE. That's at PepChazDrDave. If you want to chat to some fellow peppers, you can join our Discord server. It's on the screen now or in the blurb of the podcast. But if you want to contact me or Lockie the Lucky privately, why not email us? The address is producer@pepthepodcast.com. The address again is producer@pepthepodcast.com. Can't answer that question. I ask it every single week. I'll answer the question. The reason why you might not email us is because I rarely reply. But having said that, you know I'm going to get to it eventually. Last year, I was answering emails that were like 4 months old at the end of the year. You know I'm a busy fellow. One of these days, I'm going to get the time. I'm going to respond to every single one that asks for a response. Okay, so email us. It's okay. Just be patient. Just be patient.
This reminds me of the Simpsons episode where Ringo Starr replies to Marge's letter like 20 years later.
That's right. I do it a little less of the class.
I've got an alternative proposal.
What's your alternative? Is it an indecent proposal?
Well, no,
Are you gonna pay them
$1
million to have sex with them?
It's not. What we need is a chatbot that is trained entirely on your speech.
Oh.
The ChasBot.
The ChasBot.
That can answer the emails.
That's fantastic.
I mean, you've got millions of words out there in PEP alone. Like, not to mention all of the Planet America episodes and all of the Chaser stuff and everything else that you've put out there. That's more than enough to train the ChasBot on. And
of all the AI targets,
yes,
I would be the easiest to emulate because I am basically a robot to begin with. So it'd be really, really, really easy to get artificial intelligence to emulate me. That's a great idea. I love it. I love the ChasBot.
There you go.
And they can reply to my emails. That'd be wonderful. Don't forget to subscribe to for all that peppy goodness, folks. Please, by the way, I say this every week. Please subscribe because no one subscribed last week. So subscribe. It all helps. And we're recording this at 2:44 p.m. on Friday Arvo. You know what that means? We're starting at 2:44 p.m. on Friday Arvo. That means you're not going to be hearing this till tomorrow. But it is currently 12:44 a.m. on Friday morning in New York.
Okay.
And for now, let's turn to the man who'll never raise his stakes in inconsequential views. I speak, of course, of Dr. Pepper himself, Dr. David Smith.
Hi, everyone. I am Dr. David Smith, and I'm an associate professor at the US Studies Centre at the University of Sydney. But I want to make it very clear that I do not speak for either of those institutions when I am doing PEP. I am only speaking for myself, not for either of those institutions. I'm also not speaking for the ABC. May also be a good idea to remind people that the ABC is not actually governed by the United States Federal Communications Commission.
No.
Just a, little hot tip.
Although you would think it was by the number of times people from the ABC have tried to get me to speak about Jimmy Kimmel in the last 24 hours. I've never had a story that I cared less about that I've gotten more requests for interviews on.
Well, we are going to talk about it today.
Oh, totally. We're going to talk about it. And when I say that I care less about, I'm not saying I don't care about it. I do care, but not nearly as much as the rest of Australia cares. The rest of Australia seems to be really into Jimmy Kimmel in a huge way. Like enormous. I swear, I've got more requests for interviews in the last 24 hours than I got when Trump was nearly assassinated. Like, it's just massive. Like, we're talking like 40. It's ridiculous.
Is this because
and that whole time
he's a comedian, you're a comedian?
I don't know. All I know is I rejected every single one because I was preparing PEP. So this is for you folks. Can I say one more thing on this note? And that is because it was hard sledding preparing PEP because of the Charlie Kirk big story, changing all the rest of it. I normally don't get much sleep, but I'm really not got much sleep this time.
Okay.
I literally did not sleep 1 minute last night.
Okay.
And the day before, I did 1.5 hours.
All right.
So anything could happen over the next 3 hours,
exactly
folks.
how much sleep Chaz is operating on.
Dave, what are you grateful for?
I am grateful for Vancouver, British Columbia.
Yeah.
This is where the American Political Science Association conference was this year. I have just got back from there. It is a deeply beautiful place. I would say it's right up there with Sydney and Hong Kong in terms of being a very beautiful harbour city. I mean, I never saw a harbour that I disliked, I have to say. I think this is spending my teen years so close to Botany Bay gave me a great appreciation of container ships. So Newcastle, Dar es Salaam, they're all beautiful as well. But Vancouver is particularly a particularly beautiful place. And I want to say shout out to Pepper Rick, who I met while waiting to board the plane to Vancouver. I believe that he is off somewhere in Quebec at the moment. So if you're still listening, Rick, I hope you're having a good time. And no, I never worked out how to use that vending machine.
Thank you, Rick, for trying to get Dave into vending machines. I am grateful. Two things, as always. I'm grateful to Brian Kilmeade, first of all, for keeping me sane. It wasn't easy this week. I felt like I'm going nuts. People hyperventilating, Dave, about the lamest rhetoric imaginable online all week.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about. I was thinking to myself, am I going mad? What is going on here? This thing which this person I'm watching getting worked up is not offensive in any way. Why are these people upset?
Yes.
Surely there's a double standard at play here. Not everyone is employing those standards for everyone. You're gaslighting me, mate. That's what I was thinking. And then Brian Kilmeade proved to me that I was indeed sane.
Okay.
By coming up with possibly the most offensive thought bubble he possibly could if he sat down to try and think of the most offensive thing he could say.
Wow.
And we'll play it and then we'll talk about it. So let's play Brian Kilmeade's his audition to be cancelled.
This is one case, but this is happening all across the country, and it's not a money issue. They have given billions of dollars to mental health and the homeless population. A lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right.
Okay, a couple of things. For those who are thinking, hang on, did he just say we should kill the homeless? Yes, that's what he just said.
That is exactly what he said.
Yeah. Secondly, that was the moment it became clear that Ainsley Earhart never listens to Brian Kilmeade.
Right. Yes.
She clearly didn't process what he was saying at all when she asks, why did it have to get to this point where you are proposing to kill the homeless? So you see my point.
I do see your point.
That's a pretty offensive comment.
That is a very offensive comment.
On a week where people are getting cancelled and losing their careers because they're saying things like, I don't love Charlie Kirk.
Yes.
He's not getting cancelled
No.
for saying that. Now, admittedly, he did have his own apology. The next day, he had an apology. Let's have a look at his apology.
When we were together on Wednesday, Lawrence, in the morning, we were discussing the murder of Irina Zaruska in Charlotte, North Carolina, and how to stop these kinds of attacks by homeless, mentally ill assailants, including institutionalizing or jailing such people so they cannot attack again. Now, during that discussion, I wrongly said they should get lethal injections. I apologize for that extremely callous remark. I'm obviously aware that not all mentally ill homeless people act as the perpetrator did in North Carolina, and that so many homeless people deserve our empathy and compassion.
Do you notice he didn't say he was misunderstood? He
didn't.
He didn't say like a slip of the tongue. I didn't mean to say that. He had no excuse. He just said, I just want to apologize for that statement. It basically got crickets, this story. Like even the left didn't go on about much. That was the odd article, and that was it. That was it. Play on. No one cared. So thank you, Brian Kilmeade, for showing me that I'm not crazy. And there is indeed a massive double standard going on at the moment in people clutching pearls about rhetoric, which isn't nearly as offensive as that.
Yes. But well done on giving an actual apology.
Yeah. Look, that was...
You don't see that very often these days.
Not on
It
Fox
wasn't,
News.
I apologize if you were offended.
No,
that was actually, sorry, I was wrong.
You just shouldn't have said it. You're right, Brian. You shouldn't have.
You really shouldn't have.
But anyway, thank you, Brian. That's the first thing. The second thing I'm grateful for, anyone who saw me on Julia Baird's podcast the other day will know what's coming, because I was effusive in my compliments to what I am genuinely very grateful for. And that is these.
Oh, right.
ToeSocks. Can we get it, Lucky? Can we get the toe sock?
Oh, yeah, we're getting the toe sock.
Again, toe sock action. I have my entire life been cursed with painful pinch blisters. I sound like an infomercial here.
You do. You actually do.
I'm not going to say the brand. Don't worry, supervisor. But it doesn't matter about the brand. It's not about the brand. It's about the ToeSocks. And the fact is, the reason why you get those pinch blisters, you know what a pinch blister is? It's where the where the tip of the toe gets sort of contorted into basically a triangle. And the reason you get those pinch blisters is because the two toes rub against each other.
Right.
But when you wear toe socks, that separates them.
Okay.
So they can't rub against each other. It creates smoothness. Anyway, smooth. You certainly look smooth in your freaky toe socks, looking like everyone's nightmare. But anyway.
I think you could do like a toe puppet show.
Totally could. Totally amazing.
Put a different
Dave,
face on each of the toes.
Dave, there is nothing you can't do with toe
and
socks.
they can have a debate with each other.
Honestly, if that's what I've got to do to keep wearing them, that is what I'll do, because my pinch blisters just went away. It was just a dream.
I'm actually a bit disappointed by your testimonial, because we've all seen enough daytime TV to know what these testimonials are supposed to be sounding like. You're supposed to stare straight into the camera with this completely dead-eyed expression and say very slowly, my pinch blisters used to be so bad that I couldn't even walk all the way to the toilet. But now, thanks to ToeSocks, I'm going to the toilet again and walking all the way there. Thanks, ToeSocks.
Give me 24 hours more awake. And that's exactly what I'll sound like.
Except instead of doing the two thumbs up, you could do two big toes up.
Do you know, by the way, I don't want to make this whole podcast about my sleep habits, but do you know, because most people don't do what I do, with their staying up all the time. Do you know if you stay up long enough, different parts of your body just stop working? Did you know that? And they stop working in the weirdest possible ways. There's something they never tell you about staying up many days in a row.
This,
like my ear, my right ear just became red.
This is medical.
For no reason.
This is medical information that the world's most brutal regimes have committed human rights to find out about during medical experiments.
Yeah, I'm giving it to
and
you for free.
Chaz is doing it voluntarily.
I'm giving it to you for free. My nose just became blocked about 2 hours ago. Just became super blocked and then just became unblocked. And then I felt like I was getting pins and needles in my teeth. But my teeth don't have nerves. How are they getting pins and needles?
Do you reckon your
What's
body
going
might be
on?
trying to tell you something?
Let's do some updates. Oh my God, there's so much to talk about. I know Bill hates it when people say that. See, Bill, I did read your piece. But this week there really is a lot to talk about. Let's start with a Venezuelan boat update, Dave.
Okay. So there has been another Venezuelan boat destroyed.
Yeah, well, let's just remind people what we're talking about.
Oh, okay.
Because they're going Venezuelan boats, so who cares about boats?
Okay, yes.
I mean, especially when they look like that. Lockie's graphic is a wonderful graphic, but it just doesn't look like an interesting boat. That's all.
Yes.
What we're talking about here is we're talking about. No, we're not talking about boats. We're talking about murder. That's what we're talking about.
We are absolutely talking about murder.
Yeah, recall the boat that may or may not have been a drug boat. It turned around. It was leaving Venezuela. It turned around.
It was on its way back to shore.
Back to Venezuela when they bombed it. Then they disabled the boat with the first bomb.
Yes.
But there were some survivors, so they came back to bomb it a few more times.
Yes.
Until they'd killed everyone. Even though there was no legal justification for the attack. In fact, at the time they bombed the drug boat, the administration lawyers hadn't even come up with a theory of what they'd run with when people asked them what the legal justification was.
Yes.
And of course, drug smuggling doesn't even get you the death penalty, even if you have a trial.
Yes.
Let alone if just some flyboy comes and just bombs you.
Yes. Under no definition could they be considered combatants.
No.
There were no weapons on the boat. No. They did not pose any kind of threat to the military. So under the laws of war, even if they had been combatants, they were running away.
Yeah.
They were retreating to the shore.
They were.
But they're not combatants. There's no congressionally authorized use of military force against them. All there is at the moment is the administration talking about the idea that Venezuelan drug dealers could be considered terrorists.
That's all there is. And this week there was one more piece of information about the first boat.
Yes.
Which is, well, maybe information. Venezuela, according to Venezuela, none of the 11 people murdered by the US government were actually members of Tren de Aragua.
Wow.
Which is what the US government claimed. Now, look, hey.
Even if they were,
it's
still murder.
It's still murder, but and Venezuela may well be lying. I'm not saying that Maduro's the most trustworthy guy, right? But the thing is, we'll never know because there's never going to be a trial.
No.
Because they're all dead.
Yes.
Now, that's the background.
Yes.
As you said, Dave, there's another boat.
There's another boat. This time it was 3 people.
Yes. Should we look at the other boat? This is, once again, tweeted by Trump. This is the second boat. You can see it there. Now it's there. And now it's not. So, yes, as you say, Dave, 3 people killed. I tell you some things we didn't hear this time around. They didn't even bother to cite a gang.
No.
They just said, some more terrorists.
Yeah.
They didn't say what gang they're a member of. They didn't say, just narco terrorists. We don't know where the boat was.
No.
We don't know where the boat was heading.
No, we don't.
They're not even bothering with that stuff anymore.
They did say it was in international waters.
Oh, okay. Well, that narrows it down to 60% of the globe. Well, hey, it narrows it down to planet Earth.
It does. Yes.
That's good news. It wasn't in Mars.
Yeah.
All right. They didn't say how many times it was struck.
No.
So yes, if anything, this strike could be less justified than the first, and the first was entirely justified. So we're looking at negative percentages here.
And they again posted it online.
Yes,
they are inviting people to celebrate murder.
They are.
I'm not using the term murder flippantly.
No, it's actually murder. It's literally murder.
This is actual murder. Rand Paul made the same point when he was upbraiding J.D. Vance. Rand Paul was particularly emphasising the lack of due process that was involved and the fact that, drug smuggling does not incur the death penalty in the United States. So, in other words, under no definition could you possibly get legal justification for this act? As I say, all you have is the Trump administration talking about terrorism and narco-terrorists and using incredibly dehumanizing language. One of the things I've noticed recently is how fond this administration is of the term eliminated and elimination.
I haven't noticed that.
Because that sounds very different from killed or murdered. Because it doesn't sound like you're talking about human beings. It sounds like you're removing characters from a video game. It sounds like you're completing a quest.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you think that maybe the president might be a gladiators referee in a different life?
Gladiators.
That's about his level of class. So, yeah. Dave, while we're talking about the boat,
Yes.
got a bit of a correspondence about this, which I found interesting.
Yeah.
From Aussie Uncle Phil. He said, Rubio said they don't care if we arrest them and that Trump decided to blow the boat up. He's right. They don't give a tinker's toss if the mules are arrested, and they don't give a toss if they're blown up either. From the US perspective, one costs a fortune in effort and prison costs, and the other costs a cheap Hellfire missile. Also, the mules will care a lot about the difference. Hopefully, it will be a significant discouragement for them to commit these acts. There's a big difference between dead and 10 years in jail, while my family have been paid the amount I'd make in a full lifetime. The family's still been paid, but they might give a toss about the 0% chance of ever seeing their family member again. Now, to be clear, Aussie Uncle Phil is not advocating for this, even though it sounds like he is. He's advocating for legalisation and education. He makes that very clear.
Yes.
But what he is suggesting is that blowing them up has a point. It would be more effective than the current plan. That's what he's saying. I'm not sure that's true, to be honest.
No, I don't think it's true either.
Even from a pragmatic, cynical, let's leave aside any humanity or morality point of view.
Yeah.
I still don't think it's true.
No.
Do you want to go first? Or?
You go.
Okay. Well, first of all, the drug war has proven repeatedly that there
Yeah.
are infinite ways of smuggling drugs.
Yes.
So if you close off one way, they'll just use a different way. That's the first thing. Secondly, most of the ways that you smuggle drugs into America involve US citizens. The stats are very clear. Fiscal year 2024, American citizens make up 78% of convicted drug traffickers in America. That's 9,362 out of 12,000 convictions in 2024. Even in the southwest border districts, like right next to the border there, still 72% of them were American citizens.
Yes.
Convicted drug traffickers. In the case of fentanyl trafficking, 80% of convictions. From 2018 to 24, 79% of drug traffickers. These are very consistent stats. Wherever you look, you end up with about 80% of drug traffickers are American citizens. Are you going to blow them up with Hellfire missiles, Phil? I don't think you are. But let's say it did work, just for argument's sake. Let's say it was practically sensible.
Yeah.
What happens then? The price goes up a little more for drugs, and the drug gangs work harder to get drugs in. Is that a success? I'm not sure it is.
No.
And even if it did work, which it won't, I think it's probably fair enough to just say, well, we took a turn on the dark side there, just considering all the cynical stuff. But let's take a step back. It's wrong. Killing, murdering people is wrong.
Yes.
And the US government has now decided it can murder people willy-nilly, and we're just going to have to accept that they are above the law. I can't accept that, Phil. Even if it was pragmatic, and I don't think it is.
No.
And I know it's not your chosen path. I don't want to act like it is your chosen path. But to me, this is not just inferior to legalization. It's just the worst of all worlds.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are just on this deterrence point. A lot of people who are involved in drug smuggling are pretty desperate because the risks are so high.
Yep.
And because the payoffs that they get relative to what they would be earning otherwise are huge. I would say that what this will probably do is, if it does anything in terms of deterrence, it might just raise the price that drug syndicates are actually prepared to pay to desperate smugglers in order to do it. I get what Phil is saying, but just given the amount of money that is involved in drug smuggling, I think that they can adapt their business models pretty easily to deal with that. I think the whole history of Caribbean drug smuggling is very rich and very powerful people putting basically human pawns at enormous risks and always being able to find people who are prepared to do it. Because, I mean, obviously now, there's a risk of getting blown up by the US military. But if you're involved in international drug smuggling, you're also at all kinds of risk from other drug cartels. That, I would say, is the most likely way that you're going to die violently. I mean, some countries in Central America have war zone homicide rates because of battles going on between drug cartels. So, I mean, that at the moment is the risk of getting involved in international drug smuggling. Like, the risk of getting murdered by another cartel is very high. I don't know that getting the US military involved as well significantly, raises the deterrence that high. I think it also raises the possibility, like, okay, so far there haven't really been any consequences because Venezuela is not going to retaliate militarily. No. What happens when they get a boat that is definitely not a drug boat or that is associated with another country? Yeah, they are inviting all kinds of problems.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah.
Next update, TikTok.
Yes.
Now, recall once again that the US government passed a law last year that gave TikTok the choice of either divesting its ownership from the current Chinese-controlled ownership structure or shutting down in America. The concern was that with 170 million Americans using TikTok, the secretive and addictive algorithm that drives the app presents a security risk to America, and TikTok's US user data could be accessed by the Chinese government. That's the fear. And then Beijing could spy on Americans or conduct influence operations through the app. There was one minor exception to the law where they're allowed to have one single 90-day extension if the president verified they're on their way to divesting as the law required. Now, Trump has come in and unilaterally, through executive actions, just overruled the law and granted 3 extensions until now. Pretty much nothing's changed. It's just extension after extension. So he's ignoring the law. You can't do that, by the way. You can't. The law trumps, so to speak, executive orders. Unfortunately, it's one of those situations where no one has a standing to complain who would be prepared to take Trump to court.
Yeah.
Because I'm primarily looking at Congress here, who really could take him to court if they wanted to. But they're never going to do that. So there are no consequences. Then we get to this week. Trump granted a 4th extension to 16th
I've got to say, I thought that I was soft on extensions. But apparently not.
He's giving TikTok an A as well, let me tell you. And the administration declared that the US and China have reached a framework agreement to finally switch to American-controlled ownership. The deal's expected to be closed within the next 30 to 45 days, and the idea is that ByteDance's ownership stake will be reduced to less than 20%, as the law stipulates. The other 80% will be bought out by Oracle. That's
Larry Ellison.
Thank you. Andreessen Horowitz is a venture capital firm, Mark Andreessen, and Silver Lake, a private equity firm, and Trump's buddy Jeff Yass will be involved as well.
I'm going to say these are all Trump allies.
Yes.
Yes.
And they would create an entire new TikTok app if they do this that US users will have to switch to. The big question though is what happens to the algorithm. Right. Because that's what this is all about.
Yes.
That's why they had the legislation about to protect America from the algorithm. Now, sources have told FT that the framework will include, quote, licensing the algorithm and other intellectual property rights from ByteDance. But what the hell does that mean? Licensing the algorithm. Who controls it?
Yes.
Does America control it or does China control it? If China controls it, they've done nothing.
That sounds like China controls it.
It sounds a bit like that to me as well.
I mean, I'm not absolutely sure.
No,
but
am I.
usually, like when you buy a software license,
Yeah.
obviously you don't control the software.
Yeah.
And, okay, what they mean might be something different, but at the moment, that doesn't sound like they're going to control the algorithm.
Let me give you a different way of describing what they say they're going to do from the Wall Street Journal this time.
Okay.
TikTok engineers will recreate a set of content recommendation algorithms for the app using technology licensed from TikTok's parent ByteDance. What does that sound like?
That definitely sounds like they don't control the algorithm.
It's just a little bit to me as well. So it is possible that this will all change absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And will fall foul of the TikTok law, except the legislation does say TikTok will be able to operate in the US only if the president determines the new ownership structure severs any operational relationship between US owners of TikTok and entities controlled by a foreign adversary, including any cooperation with respect to the operation of a content recommendation algorithm or any agreement with respect to data sharing. So, if Trump determines that China doesn't control the algorithm anymore, even if they do, then it's fine.
There you go.
It's completely lawless, but you get away with it if no one has standing to sue, which
That's
is
very true.
Current situation.
That is very true.
So apparently Trump's talking to Xi Jinping tonight.
Yes, he is.
To hammer out the details. So you guys might know more about this than I do right now. Mm-hmm. When you're listening on Saturday morning. Any agreement will require the approval of Congress as well, but they're a rubber stamp, so we will see that. What are your thoughts about all this, Dave?
This conversation that Trump is going to have with Xi Jinping tonight, I'm guessing Xi Jinping is going to learn a lot about the new White House ballroom renovations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's pretty proud of that.
I think that's the only actual exchange of information that is going to happen in this conversation.
Yeah.
And that Trump is going to come back and tell Congress to rubber stamp this.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm not sure they'll be talking through the finer points of the algorithm.
I don't think they will. No.
Yeah. But anyway, so there's that as well. One more update before we get into the big story. Chicago. Well, DC. Let's start with DC. Theoretically, the Washington, DC operations should be over at this point.
Yep.
The Home Rule Act gave them 30 days for the president to control DC's police department. That's over. But Muriel Bowser seems to want to continue to work with the feds
She does.
as much as possible.
She's signaled this from the start.
Yeah, now she's into it.
Yeah.
So they don't have to leave immediately if they don't want. The DC National Guard's been told that some of them might be hanging around till December.
There you go. Because they've got a lot of cigarette butts to pick up in the parks.
It's filthy. As for the 1,300 National Guard from other states, well, that's up to the states. Like, Trump can't make them.
Yeah.
Having said all that, at the same time, the Washington, D.C. Attorney General is taking the government to court, the federal government to court, over the National Guard being deployed to D.C., which is confusing.
Yes.
I think the answer is that he's going to run for mayor.
Right.
Against Bowser. So I think that's what's going on.
Yes.
He's just white-anting her.
Yes.
Classic political style.
Yes, yeah.
Either way, Trump has been getting around acting like he's pulled off this massive achievement, tweeting out, working with us to completely eliminate it, which we have done in Washington, D.C. Now, a crime-free zone. He says he's completely eliminated violent crime. And Washington, D.C. is a crime-free zone, Dave.
Great.
So, given how dedicated he is to the idea that crime is literally zero in DC, he has got himself into strife on occasions, talking about how it is that crime is down by more than 87%.
No, it's more than 87%, virtually nothing, and much lesser things that take place in the home they call crime. You know, they'll do anything they can to find something. If a man has a little fight with the wife, They say this was a crime, see? So now I can't claim 100%. But we are a safe city.
This is a crime, see? Turn to Sam Spade. Bit unfortunate there, dismissing domestic violence as a little fight.
Really unfortunate.
Him and Brian Kilmeade should have a double act, I reckon.
Like, given how many homicides result from domestic violence as a proportion of homicide is very big.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to mention as a proportion of assault.
Not to mention as a proportion of books written by Ivana Trump.
Yes.
Like, he is not a person who should be minimizing domestic violence, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. And we're at the point that this doesn't even make the top 10 of appalling things that he's said.
For today.
Yeah.
Yes.
But, I mean, yeah, this administration's attitude towards what counts as bad violence and just what counts as either acceptable or positive violence is getting very disturbing.
Yeah, they just don't want woke. They don't want to count woke violence as violence. So it's woke, I think. I'm sure. Anyway, I'm sick of hearing Trump's exaggerations, so I thought I'd find the real numbers for you all.
Okay.
About what happened in DC over the last month.
Yep.
I'm going to read you the figures for each crime for the last month while the crackdown was happening. And we'll compare those figures to the corresponding month 12 months ago, okay? All right, here we go. In the last month, there have been 1,990 crimes reported, down from 2,500 same period last year.
Yes.
Right? There have been 173 violent crimes, down from 299. That's a fair drop. 7 homicides, down from 15, half. 9 sex abuses, up from 8. That's not down. 74 assaults with deadly weapons, same as last year. 83 robberies, down from 202. Big reduction there.
Yep.
1,817 property crimes, down from 22,202. And the violent crime rate in DC over the last month is 296 incidents per 100,000 people per year. How's that compared to the national average so far in 2025, Dave? Glad you thought to ask. These are obviously early figures, but the national average is looking to be about 324.
Right.
So DC is 8% below the national average when they're in the middle of the crackdown.
Yes.
Not exactly crime-free.
Not exactly a crime-free zone.
But it did make a
difference.
difference.
But a modest reduction, yes.
Yeah, it made a difference. Yeah. Come in, Melina. Melina's just dropping in to say hi, say bye before she leaves us for 6 months. And it's not a surprise when you literally double the number of law enforcement walking around that there will be some reductions in crime.
Yes.
We'll pick this up in a sec. But Melina, thank you for dropping by.
Hello. It's very awkward with no seat. But
Would you like to sit down? You're the one who's 9 months pregnant. Should I stand up? Yeah. Look how polite I am. My mum would be so proud. Good time.
I just had a peek in this bag.
Yeah.
And I saw this absolute treasure.
Look what Lockie
that
got
I'm
Melina.
so excited about.
He got
Thank
Melina
you.
a Melina was right about everything hat.
I love it.
In her case, it's actually true. So you're gone for 6 months?
Gone for 6 months, so I'll be back in April.
Fantastic.
There's still there's a couple of segments in the bank, so I'll still be on Planet America sporadically for the next few weeks, and then I will disappear.
Can I say how incredibly jealous I am of you disappearing for 6 months? I would love. You know what?
It's going to be a real holiday.
No, look, you say that, but you're not going to be staying up more than I'm going to be staying up, even with a baby.
That's true.
That's a fact.
That was one thing with my first kid. I always knew if I was up in the middle of the night feeding her that I could message you and you would be awake and I would have someone to talk to. So I look forward to midnight and beyond conversations with you again.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But I was actually just literally this week I was thinking to myself, is there a way I can biologically get pregnant? Because I could really do with a few months off.
You are allowed to just take leave if you really want to.
Yeah, I feel guilty if I wasn't bringing life into the world. Anyway, thank you so much, Melina, for
Thank you.
For the PEP extras and and for the Melina Mondays. Do we ever even do a Melina Monday? We kept on threatening to do one.
I think we did one that was actually on a Monday.
There was at least one.
So yeah, I did want to say thank you to the PEP community. I saw many lovely comments after the last PEP, and on a sincere note, I think it is like quite a dark time in the world at the moment, and in US politics. And the PEP community is just genuinely such a wonderful crowd of people who are so respectful and generous and able to engage in thinking and debating about difficult topics in the way you would hope more people in the world would. And it's a real credit to you guys for building that community up and everyone who's a part of it. And so, yes, I'm very grateful for the Peppers and look forward to being back in a few months.
Pick the person who the Peppers love. That explains it all. No, you're absolutely right. They're fantastic. Yeah,
Thanks for everything, Melina. Remember to swear as much as possible in front of the baby.
And by the way,
It's a good tip.
if you reckon that Melina was just sucking up then and she didn't mean that and that she's completely wrong about that, remember what the hat says. Melina is always right. About everything. Yeah. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Goodbye, Peppers. I'll be listening and I'll rejoin at some point in the future. Bye-bye.
We will white flash away the awkward shuffle back into our seats.
Very good.
Okay, so we established that that Washington DC did have a drop in crime, and it wasn't like massive crime-free zone, but there was a significant drop in crime, as you would expect when you double law enforcement. Also made other differences though. If we have a look at these graphs here, this is phone data from Mapbox showing how much people moved around during the crackdown. You can see they moved around a lot less, which is ironic given Trump. We kept on talking about how free people were to move around. They weren't using that freedom.
No.
So tourism and retail suffered quite a lot. Also, there were concerns that the community lost a certain amount of trust in law enforcement.
I can imagine that.
Yeah, because they now associate law enforcement with constant immigration enforcement.
Yeah.
And that could have ramifications down the line.
Yes.
To hurt crime levels.
Yep.
Then. Of course, like I always say when I talk about DC and the crackdown, it's about immigration. It's always about immigration. 40% of the arrests were for immigration offences. And even though Muriel Bowser was keen to keep working with the feds, like we said, we saw exactly where Trump's priorities were this week. Bowser created a post-emergency plan where the DC police would continue coordination of enhanced federal law enforcement efforts with a number of federal agencies, the FBI, the Drug Enforcement Administration, the Secret Service, and a few others, but one they will not be coordinating with is ICE. Muriel Bowser said immigration enforcement is not what the Metropolitan Police Department do, and with the end of the emergency, it won't be what MPD does. And then Trump flew off the handle, tweeting out, "Now under pressure from the radical left Democrats, Mayor Muriel Bowser, who has presided over this violent criminal takeover of our capital for years, has informed the federal government that the Metropolitan Police Department will no longer cooperate with ICE in removing and relocating dangerous illegal aliens. If I allowed this to happen, crime would come roaring back. To the people and businesses of Washington, D.C., don't worry, I am with you and won't allow this to happen. I'll call a national emergency and federalize it if necessary. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. President DJT. Drink, drink, drink." So that tells you exactly where Trump's priorities lie, Dave.
Yes, and just a reminder of cities that don't allow police to coordinate with immigration enforcement. This is not because of a radical left agenda. This is a crime reduction measure. This is because policing usually involves having good information about communities and good information from communities. What they worry about is that if the police are involved with immigration enforcement, That means that people who have concerns over their own immigration status, not necessarily illegal aliens, but people who just might not be entirely sure, they're not going to cooperate with police.
No.
And you don't actually make the country any safer by just removing undocumented migrants wholesale. If you're interested in undocumented migrants who are actually committing violent crimes, you're going to need information about them, probably from other undocumented migrants.
Yep.
That is why police who are interested in solving crimes and preventing crimes don't cooperate with immigration enforcement and make it very clear that they're not cooperating with immigration enforcement so that communities which involve undocumented migrants will cooperate with them. This is not a radical left thing.
And need I remind you that about 70% of the people arrested on immigration offences in America this year have committed no crime and have no criminal record.
That's right.
So it's not exactly the worst of the worst, as we keep hearing.
No.
So Trump then do you have anything to say about DC before I move to Chicago?
Speaking of numbers, one of DC's congressional representatives, Eleanor Holmes Norton, is 88 years old.
Congratulations.
Yeah, she's facing a very serious primary challenge this time around.
Why would anyone bother?
Yeah.
For the Washington, D.C. seat. It's non-voting.
Well, no, they do have congressional...
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure, I guess they get paid.
Yeah, good point. So that's what you get. But I don't think that even makes her the oldest Democrat in Congress, sadly.
Yeah, surely not. 88, spring chicken.
Dear, anyway.
So then Trump wanted to move on to Chicago. He tried to pressure them for a while by robotically reciting the numbers of people hurt in Chicago every weekend. Here's an example.
Excuse me. Do you know how many people were killed in Chicago last weekend? 8. You know how many people were killed in Chicago the week before? 7. You know how many people were wounded? 74 people were wounded. You think there's worse than that? I don't think so.
World's worst episode of Sesame Street. And here's another example of that kind of practice via a tweet. 6 people were murdered in Chicago this weekend. 12 others were shot and in serious condition. This would mean that over the past number of weeks, approximately 50 people were killed and hundreds were shot. Many expected to die. Governor Pritzker just stated that he doesn't want federal government help. Why? What is wrong with this guy? And the 6% in polls mayor. I want to help the people of Chicago, not hurt them. Only the criminals will be hurt. We can move fast and stop this madness. The city and state have not been able to do the job. People in Illinois should band together and demand protection. It is only going to get worse. Act now before it's too late. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. Drink. That didn't work.
No, it didn't.
So Trump then tried something else, which was the worst possible idea, which was to tweet this out. You'll recall this from last week. The Chipocalypse now per Photoshop. I love the smell of deportations in the morning, says Trump. Chicago is about to find out why it's called the Department of War. Literally displaying army helicopters burning down the city of Chicago. Now, that is a great example of an administration, Dave, that is far too keen to appeal to its online base.
It really is. Yes.
You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of Puss in Boots, Ron DeSantis.
Yes.
Back in 2023 in Florida. That's what that reminds me of.
It also could be the name of the worst ever fish and chip shop.
Chipocalypse now, yes. Yeah, and then Trump got tushy when people asked him if he was going to war with Chicago.
You say that, darling, that's fake news.
Why would the Department of Defense?
Listen, be quiet, listen. You don't listen. You never listen. That's why you're second rate. We're not going to war. We're going to clean up our cities. We're going to clean them up so they don't kill 5 people every weekend. That's not war. That's common sense.
Don't blame the media, champ. You're the one who tweeted out your stupid joke.
Yes.
Anyway.
And people would be able to hear you if you didn't insist on doing every press conference in front of a roaring helicopter.
You know, what this guy reminds me of? This guy is screaming to me that he was a MASH fan when he was a kid. He thought it was really cool. They were always around helicopters with the rotors whirring.
He was only a fan of the intro.
Yes.
Not the actual show.
Yeah, he certainly didn't learn the lessons of MASH, that's for sure.
He also didn't learn the lessons of Apocalypse Now. I mean, I doubt that he's seen it because it's 3 hours long.
Yeah. No,
Yes.
I don't think he came up with the wordplay either, just quietly.
No.
So far, all they've done in Chicago is start an immigration blitz. Of course, it's always about immigration.
Yeah.
They're allowed to do that. It's completely legal. Like, I'm not going to criticize that. Like, they're going to follow the law. I'm going to go, cool, follow the law. Yeah, like Dave's not.
I'm going to criticize it.
Yeah, okay.
One person's already been killed.
Dude, you want to talk about people getting killed? I can raise you way past one if we're talking about ways they break the law and kill people.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I'm not saying that it's a great policy. I'm just saying it's legal. It's legal. That's all I'm saying. If they want to beg Chicago to invite them in for more, but don't force the issue, I got no problem with that. If you want to see someone to be annoying and just tweet them a lot, okay, cool. Go for it, mate. Now, Pritzker, I think, agrees with you, Dave.
Yes.
And disagrees with me. He smells a rat. He thinks this whole thing is a trap. This is what he's got to say.
It's, I believe, a nefarious plan. It's one that's been repeated over and over again by, well, tyrannical dictatorships across history, where you try to incite local population into some mayhem by sending in police or other disruptors, and then claim that there's too much mayhem on the ground, and therefore there must be troops that are sent in, and that's how you basically convert a democracy into something other than that. And so that is what really worries me here. And look, we've already seen it. L.A., they did do it in L.A. exactly that way, but that wasn't new to anybody, at least, again, if you look throughout history.
Well, he's just being negative, isn't he?
Actually, at the American Political Science Association conference, one of the things that of everything that the administration is doing, but the war experts at that conference, what they were most concerned about was the prospect of specifically sending in the Texas National Guard.
Into Chicago?
Into Chicago, yes.
What was their concern?
Because of the jurisdictional problems that it would have raised, because of the very real possibilities of violence that it would have raised, because that actually would have had a bit of a Civil War-ish feel about it if you'd had the Texas National Guard battling people in Illinois, maybe even battling law enforcement in Illinois. But also, I mean, Pritzker didn't say this explicitly, but the history of if you've got a problem that you want to deal with in one place and you want to deal with it extra brutally, you send in troops from another place because they've got no connection to it and because they see it as hostile territory and because they're under the command of a governor who basically sees it as another country. Even the Tiananmen Square massacre, that was committed by troops who were sent in from quite a long way outside of Beijing.
Okay.
They couldn't use local Beijing soldiers for that. That was troops who came in from quite a long way outside. I'm not saying that would have turned into Tiananmen Square, but certainly it raises a lot of the stakes when, you've got these troops who are identifiable as like red state troops marching into a blue state city to, fulfill the agenda of, red president. That really raised the stakes of violence.
Certainly not inconsequential views, those stakes, I'll tell you that.
No.
So Trump's then moved on to Memphis.
Yes. By the way,
yes,
I was speaking to someone who lived in Memphis for a long time at that conference, and he made a very interesting observation about it.
Please.
He lived in the heart of downtown Memphis.
Yeah.
And it was completely safe. He said, I mean, because you've made the point, like the violence is concentrated in downtown Memphis.
Yeah.
He made the point, the violence isn't just concentrated in downtown Memphis. It's concentrated in like 4 blocks of downtown Memphis, as violence so often is. So you went 3 blocks from his place, you were potentially in trouble.
Yeah.
But where he lived, there was never any trouble at all.
Well,
so
there you go.
just a point about that. But within that 4 blocks, that's the highest homicide rate in the United States.
It is. And in fact, by a mile. The next high, it's 2,500 incidents per 100,000 people per year.
Yes.
Of violent crime. The next highest is Oakland on 1,925. So that's like 25%
Yes.
less.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you put the qualifier in before I did about that those figures you shouldn't compare to each other, especially with Memphis. Anyway, either way, Trump says it's a done deal.
We're going to Memphis. Memphis is
That's the next city.
deeply troubled. And the mayor is happy. He's a Democrat mayor. The mayor is happy. And the governor, Tennessee, the governor is happy. Deeply troubled. We're going to fix that just like we did Washington.
The mayor of Memphis, Paul Young, says about the suggestion he's happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was an overstatement. I want to be clear. I did not ask for the National Guard, and I don't think it's the way to drive down crime. However, that decision has been made. I do not support the National Guard. However, they are coming. It's not the mayor's call. The mayor doesn't have an authority to stop them. My goal is to make sure that as they come, that I have an opportunity to work with them, to strategize on how they engage in the community. So he's saying quite reasonable.
Yeah.
Yep. And Trump says that he may go to Chicago after Memphis.
Right.
We'll see. Do you have any comments to make about any of this?
No.
No. Well, that's our update.
Okay.
Dave, let's get into the big topic.
Okay.
Charlie Kirk. I'm going to start with you. You missed us talking to Melina about this for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, do you have anything you want to say about Charlie Kirk, the man, before we get into the killing?
I know very little about Charlie Kirk, the man.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
The main point that I would make there is that your attitude towards murder shouldn't be conditional on whether you think the victim was a great person or not.
Yeah.
Now, that might seem like a very basic point to make, but I think it's worth making because there were a lot of people who have been accused, lost their jobs for celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder. But as we've talked about early in the show, celebrating murder is becoming a sadly ordinary fact of American life.
Yeah.
And it is led by this administration.
Yep.
Okay. And one of the most horrifying things about the Charlie Kirk murder was the fact that video of it was so widely available. As one article put it, this is a murder in a post-content moderation world. And a lot of people are rightly upset that their children would have seen this happening. I have not watched it. I will not watch it. But at the same time, we have the White House posting pictures of boats carrying human beings being destroyed and then putting celebratory messages on it like, 11 narco-terrorists dead, or as Pete Hegseth said, at the bottom of the ocean. Now,
that's a good point.
I'm not drawing an equivalence between people who are involved in the drug trade, if indeed they were, and someone who was killed while engaging in what should have been, protected act of political speech. But that is exactly the point. Your condemnation of murder shouldn't be conditional on the status of the people who were murdered in your mind. And whoever, we know who committed this murder. He, I imagine, seems to have convinced himself that this murder was justified because of who Charlie Kirk was and what Charlie Kirk stood for. I think we can all agree that reasoning is bad and violent and takes us to terrible places.
Yep.
But that reasoning is going on widely and before our eyes in a lot of other contexts. This is sadly a country where not just murder but justification for murder is becoming normalised in all kinds of ways. So that is just my overall comment about what's going on. As I've said before, one of the important lessons of Black Lives Matter that it appeared the country was learning to some extent was this idea that condemnation of killing shouldn't be conditional on whether the victim was a model citizen or not, because George Floyd was someone with a criminal record, with a history of all kinds of problems, including violence. But when a police officer was kneeling on his neck, everybody could see his humanity in that moment. Everybody could see Charlie Kirk's humanity in the moment when he was shot in the neck. There's nothing like, sadly, watching someone die to finally be able to observe their humanity. But we should maintain that same standard for every murder.
That sounds reasonable. I've kind of self-polarized a little bit this week when it comes to
You've
Charlie Kirk.
self-polarized?
Yeah, like in that the things I liked about Charlie Kirk before, I like more now.
Right.
And the things I disliked about him before, I now dislike more.
Okay.
And what I mean by that, things I liked about him before, it was always about the outreach. That's always what I liked. I always liked the outreach in colleges. And in particular when reaching out to people, okay, let's put it this way. I've been watching a lot of videos of Charlie Kirk this week, and I saw a lot of these college videos, which I hadn't seen in the past. I mean, I'd seen a few of them.
Right, yeah.
And it's a real pattern. He really did give people a chance to say their piece. He really did. And he really did listen to them as well before reaching for one of his arguments.
Yes.
He's got these on-the-shelf arguments.
Yes, yeah.
That he's just sitting there waiting to use. But he always gives them a chance beforehand.
Okay.
Right. And I'll tell you something else that happens a lot. And I didn't realize this. So I'm going to give him credit for this. What happens a lot is he'll get someone stepping up who looks like a classic activist.
Right.
Green hair, too much makeup, whatever. Like just look like exactly a kind of uni cliche kind of activist, right?
I've never associated too much makeup with activists, but anyway, go on.
A certain kind of makeup.
Okay.
Like I don't want to show the people because it's insulting to the people.
Okay.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
But just take it from me. You see these people, you go, oh, here we go. Right.
Right.
And clearly his crowd who turn up are Charlie Kirk fans. Right.
Yes.
They see these people as well, and they're thinking, here we go. And they start jeering before these people even open their mouth. And Charlie Kirk comes down on them.
Yeah.
I've seen it over and over again this week where Charlie Kirk will tell the crowd to shut the hell up and give them a chance. Like they say, this is about the free exchange of ideas. I don't want you booing and jeering. Just give them a chance. And then what he'll do is he'll put his mic down and he'll listen to them. He won't say a word until that person has finished making their first point or asks Charlie a question. I've seen it happen many times this week. Like I've watched that. It's definitely his trend, like that he wanted to do, right? And I'll give him credit for that. Now, obviously, the longer the exchange goes, the more he starts to talk over them, the more he starts to move on, the less patient and tolerant he becomes. But he's not a god. I'll give the guy credit. He did genuinely give people room to make points in a way I am no longer used to seeing in other environments. So that I really like about him, and I'll give him credit for that. Okay? And there's also no need to acknowledge. I will. I'm going to acknowledge that he copped grief from other right-wingers because of his outreach. Because he did give outreach to gay people and to black people and all the rest, and racial minorities. He did. And he copped grief from the Fuentes of this world because of it. Right? I also concede that the longer you play his bad grabs, because I've seen a lot of bad grabs this week, the less bad they look. They never look good. They're still bad.
Yeah.
I don't agree with them.
No.
But I think people have stitched him up a bit this week, either by paraphrasing him or editing his bad moments to be as short as possible, because the shorter they look, the worse they get. So, for example, everyone's seen the guns grab of him saying the gun deaths are worth it, right? Let's play that grab a bit longer and see his full argument. He's still making the same point.
Yeah.
But he makes it more reasonably when it's longer.
Now, we must also be real. We must be honest with the population. Having an armed citizenry comes with a price. Wow. And that is part of liberty. Wow. Driving comes with a price. 50,000 people die on the road every year. Wow. That's a price. You get rid of driving, you'd have 50,000 less auto fatalities. But we have decided that the benefit of driving, speed, accessibility, mobility, having products, services, is worth the cost of 50,000 people dying on the road. Wow. So we need to be very clear that you're not going to get gun deaths to zero. It will not happen. Right. You can significantly reduce them through having more fathers in the home, by having more armed guards in front of schools. We should have an honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence, but we should not have a utopian one. You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. Wow. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational.
So you can see the moment when I was rolling my eyes when he's talking about the way we reduce gun deaths is having more fathers in the home and armed guards out the front of the school.
I have noticed that when he talked about guns, he often used racist tropes to talk about gun violence. Yes. Including, sadly, just before he died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I mean, my point is this, that the driving comparison is a lot more reasonable than just out of the blue just going, and I think it's great.
That is true. Although to me, the driving comparison also highlighted the absurdity of his argument. In terms of, he lists off all the benefits of driving. Yeah. There are no analogous benefits from guns. Yeah. Unless you're really, really into hunting all of your own food. No, he's talking... But he says that to protect all the rest of our God-given rights.
Yeah, he's talking about protecting against the government. I mean, we've discussed this before. I think that's a silly argument because you can't actually defend your freedoms against government tyranny with a gun. Government tyranny usually works in non-military ways. Yes. Through taxes and through fines and through compulsion of various things. It's not through people coming with guns. Yeah. And if the government turns up at your door with guns, they're going to outgun you. I promise you.
Probably.
Right. So so that's not going to work anyway. All right. Like either way, your gun ain't protecting you from the government. Yes. Right? So I think it's a weak argument. But and by the way as well, who decides what's tyrannical and what's not? Yes. There are literally 100 million people who thought that Biden was a tyrant. And there are now 100 million people who think Trump is a tyrant. Yes. Who's right? The guy who shot Kirk. Yes. Maybe he thinks, maybe in court, he is going to argue that he saw Kirk as part of a tyranny against transgender people. Yes. That might be his argument.
It will probably be his argument.
Yeah. Like, guns aren't good for a subjective discussion.
No.
That's not their strong point.
Yes.
But my point is when you listen to him long, he's not as simplistic, heartless, and stupid as the short clips make him appear.
Right, yes.
I'll give him credit on that.
Yes.
What I don't like about him, and what I really don't like about him this week, and I didn't realize how bad it was until I watched lots of clips, is he's got a real nasty streak. I saw that a lot. Like, not so much in college. Yeah. When he's talking to new students, he's pretty respectful and pretty patient. Yeah. As soon as he gets in front of that talkback mic, he's got a serious nasty streak.
Yes.
The more you see of him in context, the more you realise that. The black women clip, which went around and was cut too short as well.
Yes.
It was a great example, actually.
Mm-hmm.
He's not saying black women are stupid, which is what people were suggesting he was saying. He was doing a drive-by on Michelle Obama and
Letitia James.
Yeah.
Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yeah, exactly. I understand the point he's making. I sure as hell disagree with it, but I understand what he's trying to say. But the reason I'm going to play it to you, though, is I'm going to play it long again. I want you to look at how much he's enjoying being a real asshole to these people. He's just getting off on it. And I think unfairly as well. He starts off by saying, if a week ago I'd said,
Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. Play cut 52.
But I rise today as a clear recipient of affirmative action, and particularly in higher education. I may have been admitted on affirmative action, both in terms of being a woman and a woman of color, but I can declare that I did not graduate on affirmative action. This is my personal story.
I hear because of action affirmative. She can't even say that. We know. It's very obvious to us that you were not smart enough to be able to get in on your own. I couldn't make it on my own, so I needed to take opportunities from someone more deserving. You know, this is how arrogant Joy Reid and Ketanji Brown Jackson and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee are. They're so narcissistic, they think this is persuasive. They think we're like, oh, of course, that's why we need affirmative action, because you have impressed us with your brilliance. Of course. Oh no, imagine the world without Joy Reid. Imagine the world without Sheila Jackson Lee or Michelle Obama or Ketanji Brown Jackson. They think this is persuasive.
Reeks of entitlement, smugness, arrogance, hubris, real dickhead stuff.
Yes.
And the idea that Michelle Obama and Ketanji Brown Jackson in particular are dumb.
Yes.
Is kind of ridiculous.
It's incredibly ridiculous.
And he's so snotty and nasty. And I've seen that tone a lot in his talkback. But not his university videos, to be fair.
Right, yes, yeah. I mean, there he is just clearly talking to an audience who he knows are going to agree with him. And he is just ramping up the hate and contempt. And by the way, when I said earlier about his use of racist tropes when he's talking about gun violence, so just if you're wondering what I was talking about there, the reference to fathers in homes. So in 1964, Daniel Patrick Moynihan produced this report claiming that the major cause of African-American poverty and social dysfunction was what he called matrifocal homes, right? Homes without fathers. Ever since then, people have used that claim to explain what they see as social pathologies among African Americans. And it's at the point in American discourse, if you talk about fatherlessness, even though that's on its face, a racially neutral term, when he's talking about fatherlessness and he's talking about gun violence, what his audience understands him to mean is that the real gun violence problem in the United States is African Americans. And as I said, sadly, just before he killed, that's what he was also claiming when he was asked a question about, do you know how many mass shootings there are every year? And he said, is that including gang members? Right, that's something his audience immediately would have understood as, oh yeah, if you take African Americans out of the equation, then there's not really a problem, right? So Charlie Kirk talked in these kinds of terms a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing, which I didn't talk about last week, which I should have paid much more attention to because I'm really disliking it this week, is Kirk founding the Professor Watch List.
Yes.
It's supposedly about academics discriminating against conservative views, scholarship and students. He's got a school board watch list as well for schools. In reality, it's him creating a hub to name academics and school administrators and teachers who have said left-wing things.
Yeah.
And soliciting people to contact the schools and colleges where they work.
Yes.
And it became, it still is, a harassment hit list, not to mention generating heaps of threats of violence as well.
Yeah, I know someone who's on it. And
they don't like it?
It was an incredibly bad experience for him. He's African-American. He was accused on this of being anti-white, which is one of Charlie Kirk's favourite accusations. So Charlie Kirk often promoted the idea that whites are a really discriminated against group in the United States. And he also claimed at one point that it was Jewish donors who were fomenting anti-white feeling in the United States.
Lovely.
Which is part of Great Replacement theory, which, by the way, Great Replacement was actually a term that Charlie Kirk used openly. Yeah. So other people are often accused of promoting Great Replacement theories. Charlie Kirk actually talked about Great Replacement theories. So, yeah, the idea that whites are this embattled group in the United States was a major theme of his rhetoric. The comment about Jewish donors actually caused, I think it was Eric Erickson, to call him an anti-Semitic troll or something along those lines. At that point, that was in 2023, there were a lot of people on the right who thought that Charlie Kirk was actually actively damaging their prospects. Yeah.
Things have changed.
Things have changed.
And by the way, that's not that Professor Watch List. A lot of people cite that as a direct contradiction of First Amendment principles. It's private action. That's not that doesn't contradict the First Amendment. But if you supposedly believe in reasoned debate, you shouldn't be trying to intimidate your opponents into shutting up.
No.
So it's thuggish and it's hypocritical without necessarily being a direct contradiction of First Amendment.
It does show one of the things that Charlie Kirk understood that made him so effective, which is there are a lot of people out there with a lot of time on their hands. And I mean, Charlie Kirk was very effective at mobilizing money, which is one great political resource.
Yep.
But he was even more effective at mobilizing the time of people who have a lot of it to use for these kinds of harassment purposes. He was very effective at that. Yeah.
Anyway, I've grown to really resent that. So that's my self-polarization.
Right, okay.
I appreciate the uni stuff more, and I dislike the other stuff a lot more as well.
Okay.
Let's talk about any odds and ends you have to add about either the shooting or the manhunt or the charges, just the technical stuff before we get into the talking points.
Not particularly, because I think obviously the suspect has been apprehended.
Yep.
There are details about him from police interviews that are leaking out.
Yep.
It's probably prudent not to comment too much until we know more, and we are going to know more. But one of the things that makes this different from a lot of shootings that seems to be coming out from these texts is apparently he didn't want to get caught. One of the texts said, I hope to take this to my grave as an old man.
Yep.
And he didn't have a manifesto.
Yep.
He wasn't apparently doing it, for attention or online notoriety.
Yep.
That makes it quite different from a lot of the acts of terrorism that we are used to seeing. Yeah, a lot of acts of terrorism and other acts of mass violence and shootings, which often have political motives, but the part of the political motive is you really want people to know who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really want people to know what your cause is. This shooter seems to be taking a very different approach.
That's a good observation.
Yeah.
I've got two broad things. One, I just want to go through the charges.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's 7 charges laid against the shooter. I don't know why I'm bothering with that anymore. Not using his name because everyone uses his name.
Yes.
I will talk about that a little later. 1 count of aggravated murder for intentionally or knowingly causing the death of Charlie Kirk under circumstances that created a great risk of death to others. 1 count of felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury. And both those have aggravating factors on both those counts because the shooter targeted Charlie Kirk based on his political expression and did so knowing that children would be present and would witness the homicide. What? Yeah.
Yeah, I just like it just immediately occurred to me, like, not even just the people present witnessing the homicide. Millions of people witnessed that homicide.
Yes, that's
which
true.
is probably something that any shooter should be able to anticipate now. But yeah.
Certainly when there's that many youngsters all stuck together, there's going to be some streaming happening. The 1 count of obstruction of justice for moving and concealing the rifle used in the shooting. 1 count of obstruction of justice for disposing the clothing he wore during the shooting. 2 counts of witness tampering for directing his roommate to delete his incriminating texts and for directing his roommate to stay silent if police question him. And 1 count of the commission of a violent offence in the presence of a child and for doing so on the basis of Charlie Kirk's political expression. In Utah, you can't get the death penalty for straight murder.
Right.
Doesn't work like that.
Yep.
You need an aggravating offence.
Right. Yep.
So that's why right at the top there, the first charge I mentioned, they listed as an aggravating offence the shooter committing those crimes in front of children and committing them under circumstances that create a great risk of death to others.
Yes.
Sniping someone in a crowd from 200 metres away, that qualifies as a risk to others. So if he's found guilty, he's definitely looking at a death penalty. Also note, this is a state case.
Yes, it is.
Right? Because homicides only become federalised when there's an assassination of a federal government official or a killing on federal property or a hate crime motivated by the victim's race, religion or other protected characteristic.
Yes.
Yeah. So what that means is it's going to be a circus because in Utah, state courts can be televised.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so strap yourself in.
Yeah.
Probably a good thing. It's a state charge as well because Kash Patel seems to have been busy buggering everything up for the feds all week.
My God. I was embarrassed for him.
This shooter absolutely would have gotten off if it was a federal charge.
Yes.
First, Kash Patel came down to Utah for some reason during the investigation, like that was going to help. No reason for him to do that. FBI directors normally would not do that.
Well, I think there was a thing like, I'm personally taking charge of this investigation because by then he could see how embarrassing the investigation had actually become.
Yes.
Just to remind you of what happened. So there were a couple of people taken into custody who it turned out were not the shooters.
Yes.
But they didn't stop Kash Patel from tweeting the subject of the it was really weird language.
I've got it for you here, mate.
Yes.
The subject for the horrific shooting today that took the life of Charlie Kirk is now in custody. Thank you to the local and state authorities in Utah for your partnership with the FBI. We will provide updates when able.
The subject.
Yeah, and then very soon afterwards.
Yeah.
The subject in custody has been released after an interrogation by law enforcement. Our investigation continues and we will continue to release information in the interest of transparency.
So I assume that subject is a technical law enforcement term?
I guess so.
Or did he mean to say suspect?
I don't know.
I'm going to assume it's a technical law enforcement term that I'm not aware of because I think that he would be familiar with his job enough by this point. I also think there's probably a lawyer looking at the tweets he writes. But nonetheless, that was very bad because it gave people the impression that they had found the shooter very early on.
Yes.
And Kash Patel was clearly quite embarrassed when they didn't.
Yes.
Kash Patel was furious about the fact that, okay, so the photo of the shooter was not released because the FBI said they were going to try to use facial recognition software to try to determine who it was. They gave up on that pretty quickly. And then they just released the photo.
They did.
And Kash Patel was, the thing is that the photo hadn't even been released to him.
Yes.
So, yeah, now, given that it was, the release of the photo, as far as I'm aware, was kind of the catalyst for the events that actually led to him getting
the dad's friend
arrested.
The dad's friend showed the dad the photo and said, "This looks like your son."
Yes.
And the dad said, "Yes, it does."
Yes.
And then the dad confronted him.
Yes.
And made him turn himself in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. So I mean, yeah, in the end, the release of the photo was important. But first, they're like, we're going to try to find out who it is through facial recognition software.
Yeah.
You're saying that dads aren't facial recognition software?
Yes.
Fair call.
Very good point, Lockie.
Fair call, jaunty Lockie. And then since it wasn't going well, he then decided to take it out on his agents by gathering 200 of them together, taking them off the manhunt to yell at them a lot.
That was a disgrace.
Yeah, and to tell them that he would no longer put up with the FBI's Mickey Mouse operations.
Yes, and the extremely experienced head of the Salt Lake City field office of the FBI had been gotten rid of.
Yes.
A few months earlier. Had been compulsorily, I think the choice she was given was compulsorily relocate to Nashville or you're out.
Well done, Kash. Well done. In the end, as you say, they only caught the guy because the dad got him to turn himself in. Mm-hmm. But Kash Patel still strutted around like he was Commandant Lassard at the end of a police academy movie. This is him doing his thing.
This is what happens when you let good cops be cops.
Yeah.
You didn't let good cops be cops. Kash.
And at times his self-promotion got, just weird.
Yeah.
Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk. Rest now, brother. We have the watch. And I'll see you in Valhalla.
What's going on there?
I'll see you in Valhalla.
What's that about?
Look, for someone who talked about his Christianity as much as Charlie Kirk did,
yes,
I would have thought it would be a little bit offensive to say, see you in Viking pagan afterlife.
Yeah.
Yeah, where from what I can remember, they do some pretty decidedly unchristian things up there.
In Valhalla.
In Valhalla. But, the idea of Valhalla and Norse gods, all of that is a bit far right.
Yeah.
That's all stuff that far right people like.
Well, you say that, but I've got a tweet from the very far right Christopher Rufo, which suggests otherwise.
All right. What does Christopher Rufo say?
This is what he says. I'm grateful that Utah authorities have captured the suspect in the Charlie Kirk assassination and think it's time for Republicans to assess whether Kash Patel is the right man to run the FBI. He performed terribly in the last few days, and it's not clear whether he has the operational expertise to investigate, infiltrate, and disrupt the violent movements of whatever ideology that threaten the peace in the United States. How about that?
Wow, I agree with Christopher Rufo.
And apparently you agree with Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche as well, who both have no confidence in him as well. How incompetent, Dave, does one have to be before Pam Bondi is looking down at you? To be fair, they do deny it, but still. Should we listen to Trump's vote of confidence in Kash Patel?
Yes.
I think this says it all.
President, you don't have complete confidence in Kash Patel. What are you hoping comes from his testimony on the Hill today?
Well, first of all, I think that Pam Bondi has done an unbelievable job, and everybody agrees with that. And Kash, if you take a look at what he did with respect to this horrible person that he just captured. He did it in 2 days. It took other similar cases 4 days, 5 days, 4 years. If you look at certain shooters. Now, I have confidence in everybody in the administration. My administration, and a lot of people are saying it, not just me, it's so far the best administration ever formed.
If I was Kash Patel, after that, I'd start packing for Valhalla right now. He's got a one-way ticket to Valhalla. That's Kash Patel.
It reminded me of the scene in Mad Max Fury Road. Ride eternal in Valhalla, shiny and chrome.
Okay, let's. As you said, we don't want to spend too long on the motives and politics and all that kind of stuff.
Because all of this is going to come out.
Yeah.
Let's just be a little bit patient with this, okay?
Okay, I just want to say a couple of things though. First of all, I hate this.
Right.
I hate this because political violence, like mass shooters, is self-perpetuating. They are copycats of each other.
That's true.
When you get one, you get another one. Like mass shooters, about 10 years ago, we all decided to stop naming these guys.
Yes.
So they weren't going to be celebrities and people would stop copying them.
Yes.
But about 5 years ago, partisan needs began to drive people to start naming them again. Why? Because they want to know all about them so they could prove that they're actually a member of the other team.
Yeah.
And that became the most important thing, to prove it's not one of ours, it's one of theirs. And that's now out of control. People are combing over these people's lives in minute detail for any evidence that they can form to defeat the other side with. And that makes these people mega famous.
Yes.
This guy, the shooter, is going to be a hero to his community, the community of shooter lovers I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, which means it's going to guarantee we're going to see more political shootings building on what he did in the future.
Can I just say on this point, well, this point is a bit tangential to this, but nonetheless, this was one of the first things that I thought about. I've been worried about this actually ever since the first attempt on Trump, is people have realized how easy it is. One of Charlie Kirk's former security detail was interviewed very shortly about this, and he was saying that Charlie Kirk was traveling with his standard security detail, which is 5 people. There were also 6 campus security officers there as well. So, I mean, he was not unprotected, right? He was traveling with 5 bodyguards. But as this head of the security detail pointed out, when you have a shooter who is, I think it was in his words, over 200 feet away, only the president has protection against that. I assume that probably extends to ex-presidents as well. But yeah, just that, there's only so far that the security perimeter can extend. Someone like Charlie Kirk, even though he's a very high-profile figure, right? And there was, I was trying to find information from before he was murdered about how well known he was. And I found one YouGov estimate based on a survey that they'd done in 2024 that said 61% of Americans had heard of Charlie Kirk. That is a very, very high number. Like, that is a lot higher than the vast majority of elected officials in the United States. That's in the stratosphere of like highest levels of government and highest levels of celebrity stardom, right? So, but even he's got no protection against somebody who is more than 200 feet away and is equipped with a firearm and has the skill to kill him from that distance. And this is one of the things I'm really worried about, showing how easy it is to kill even very high-profile people from a distance. There is basically no security solution to this. And certainly after
glass, I guess.
Yeah, immediately after Charlie Kirk's shooting, quite understandably, politicians from both sides were cancelling events left, right, and centre. Like anything outdoors, there's just the possibility is there. The first Trump shooter was the one who really showed how easy it was, because Trump even when he wasn't president anymore, still had a very significant security detail, which could only stop that shooting after the fact. anyone else, even if they're a massive celebrity, just doesn't have this protection. And certainly it had been talked about before, the idea that the US might be heading not for civil war, but for a sort of lower intensity violent political conflict, something similar to what was known in Italy as the Days of Lead in the 1970s, where assassinations of the left by the right and the right by the left were pretty routine. That's where I'm really worried we are heading by the way that it's just become so easy. Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to mention the bullets. I'm going to mention the bullets because they're going to come up later on.
Yes.
The bullet inscriptions, there's a lot of discussion about them because they just could have meant anything. Like, oh, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Ciao, Ciao was an apparent reference to an Italian folk song sung by anti-fascists after World War II. So that could be a left-wing thing.
Yes.
Right, being anti-fascist. But also, it could be a far-right groyper who are also into that song.
Yes.
But also, it could be an online memer because that song appears online in various forms, like, for instance, used ironically in montages from the game Helldivers 2. And the reason I mention Helldivers 2 is because the next one is, hey, fascist, catch, up, right, down, down, down. That's the call-down code for the 500-kilo bomb in the game Helldivers 2. So I don't know, it feels playing Helldivers 2 a lot. I've got no idea. In Helldivers 2, it takes place in Super Earth 2 in the 22nd century, which is a united planet governed by managed democracy, which is like a fake democracy covering up for a fascist state. There are fascists everywhere. So when you say, hey, fascist, catch, and you drop a bomb on them, that's part of the game.
Yes.
Or you could just be saying, hey, fascist. It could be a left-wing thing.
Yes.
We don't know. Then there's Notices Bulge, oh, whoa, what's this? Which is just a trolling phrase from furry and anime subcultures. And then if you read this, you are gay, LMAO, which, once again, I don't know what that means.
Standard edgelordism, I think.
But I'm assuming it's, once again, trolling. Right. So people argue about that for ages.
Yep.
Having no idea. And then Robinson's text chat comes out with his partner, and in it he says, remember how I was engraving bullets? The fucking messages are mostly a big meme. If I see Notices Bulge ooh-woo on Fox News, I might have a stroke, all right? So if you believe those texts, which we'll find out about in court, there's your answer.
Yeah.
It's memeing. That's it. Screwing around. Which doesn't mean he doesn't have a political motive for the shooting.
No.
It just means that the bullets were a false lead.
The bullets were not the Rosetta Stone.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I've talked a bit about Play America, about the actual shoes politics. I've played grabs. I'll just play one grab from the Attorney General just saying this is what he thinks the politics is.
Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate.
So that doesn't mean Robinson's a card-carrying Democrat. He's registered as a non-partisan voter for a start. He didn't even vote in 2024, so he probably doesn't care. Ken Klippenstein spoke to one of his friends, and they said, I think the main thing that's caused so much confusion is that he's always generally apolitical for the most part. That's the big thing. He just never really talked politics, which is why it's so frustrating. Obviously, he's okay with gay and trans people having a right to exist, but also believes in the Second Amendment. Note the tone of the friend there. The friend is obviously from the left as well.
Yes.
Shooter seemed at least left on gender issues, obviously, which provides a potential motive. as does the text messages. Again, he said, why did I do it? I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. So yeah, he's likely on the left, but he may be motivated either by politics or by online trolling and memeing and shit. A few conservatives have pointed to a YouGov poll which showed 24% of people saying he's a Republican to 21% of people saying he's a Democrat, and they go crazy about that. That was early on. That was like 5 days ago. They're still using the same poll. Like every day there's more information. So I think that's kind of dumb. In fact, the day after there was a poll from YouGov which showed 37% saying that he had left-wing beliefs to 17% saying right-wing beliefs. So yeah, I wouldn't make a big deal out of that like some people online are. As I said, these chats, I don't know if you believe them or not. Do you have a view on the chat so far? The texts I'm talking about, the text messages, because people are saying that they're trying to cover up for Luna, his partner,
right,
being an accessory,
right?
Like people are saying, of course Luna knew he was going to do it, but he sent these texts so that way, oh look, we got evidence that Luna didn't know about this at all.
I assume this is going to be investigated a lot more.
Yeah, I assume so
and
too.
that will give us a clearer picture of what's going on.
I could understand if they did do that. I could understand why.
Yes,
because I've already mentioned this a few times that the right are so gearing up for the transgender side of this.
Yes,
they want this so bad they can taste this. You know?
Yes, yeah.
This was a headline in the New York Post 2 days ago, I think, maybe 3 days ago. Even when they thought it was a cisgender guy who did it alone, they ran this headline. Charlie Kirk assassination, latest shooting committed by trans people and advocates. So they're just trying to cram this guy into the trans people bucket just so they can stitch up this whole trans thing, which they're trying to set up.
Yeah.
And some of the tweets that are out at the moment already. Liz Wheeler, who's pretty big in the online right.
Yeah.
Transgenderism is an inherently violent, revolutionary Marxist ideology. It was never about tolerance or inclusion. It was always a plot to exploit vulnerable young people, brainwash them, and weaponize them into kamikazes, a Marxist vanguard. It must be excised from America. That's your vibe. Right there.
That, I would say, is a pretty violence-encouraging tweet.
Oh, yeah? Let me throw Matt Walsh at you.
Jesus.
Transgenderism is a death cult. The largest, most well-funded and deranged death cult that this country has ever seen. How about that? Do you reckon that might incite violence?
But just look at the perversity of these tweets. Like, in statistical terms, transgender people are a tiny portion of the population. This is basically suggesting that they're an incredibly rich and powerful threat to real Americans. Now, okay, given that there's very prominent...
Just to be clear, you put that in inverted commas.
Yes.
Real Americans.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, obviously, given that this very powerful and famous conservative activist has just been murdered, and the murder does seem to be involved in the trans issue, I can understand some of the emotions that are at play here, but it is always incredibly dangerous when a majority feels that it is victimized by what is in reality a tiny and powerless minority. And the only thing that enables trans people or trans advocates to be a threat to people like Charlie Kirk is the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
It is the very widespread availability of high-powered weaponry, right? That's where the threat comes from. It's not the fact that trans people or trans advocates are some incredibly well-organized and powerful group. They're not. Trans people in general are often some of the most precarious and marginalized people in the United States. Caitlyn Jenner is not your modal trans person.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you how little power they have. Let me tell you how little power. Have you noticed the entire media? The entire media is calling the shooter's girlfriend a male called Lance. When Lance changed her name to Luna and her gender to female in December last year. It's not a huge thing, I guess, but 2 years ago, the entire media would have respected Luna's wishes on both her name and her gender.
Yeah.
And now they're all ignoring her. No one gives a toss.
Yeah.
It's, I made the same mistake on Monday's Planet America because I assumed the media would have got it right. So I assumed that she was female to male. But she's not. She's male to female. They just don't care.
No.
And I was really surprised to find out literally how far we've regressed on gender issues in just a year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the willingness of a lot of Democrats to throw trans people under the bus is part of that problem. Ken Klippenstein pointed out, who we've just mentioned, pointed out in an article which Richard Cook sent to us a few minutes before PEP. He was saying a lot of the attacks on DEI may well be reversed by a future administration just because of the sheer number of people who are, who are affected by it. But with the number of Democrats now suggesting that basically they lost the last election because they were too friendly to trans people, and maybe this is a useful group that we can, that we can sacrifice in some way. I'm not confident that there's going to be any kind of snapback on trans rights, even just on the most basic and inoffensive things like allowing them to have the names that they have chosen.
Yeah. It's just such a basic dignity, I would have thought.
And also, just on the point about trans people and mass shootings, I mean, there's been a pretty widely circulated statistic. Trans people have been responsible for 0.017% of mass shootings in the United States.
There you go.
Yeah. Even Donald Trump actually said a couple of weeks ago that most of the time it's not trans people doing mass shootings. Anyway,
there you go. The other area that isn't being talked about so much as a third motivation, which can intersect with the other two potentially.
Yep.
Is that the shooter is very online, very much a member of a bunch of gamer groups and discords, as like we're talking the bullets. It turns out a lot of mass shooters are into this stuff.
Right.
The Catholic school shooter in Minneapolis a few months back also had phrases written all over their guns and magazines. They were also random memes that were written down. There was a Madison school shooter in December 2024 and a Nashville school shooter in January 2025 who actually hung out in the same shooter enthusiast groups, including one site where you can watch old shootings and discuss them called Watch People Die. Two of those three shooters, by the way, were trans. So the right are acting like the common factor is trans.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure it is. I think the common factor might be they're all into the same stuff.
Yeah.
Whether they're trans or cis, it just doesn't matter. And they copy each other.
Yes.
Right? On the same day as the Kirk shooting happened, there was a school shooting in Colorado by a 16-year-old who I'm not going to name, who also hung around at Watch People Die. Where he was a commenter. He showcased the gear he was assembling for his shooting, showed it off at Watch People Die. They were giving comments on his gear, making suggestions for the GoPro he should use.
Jesus.
That's what we're talking about here. The whole thing is a big online lark. It's a troll. Have a look at how some people reacted. I've got the video for you to the shooter's engraved bullets on TikTok.
Let me get this right. So this man planned to take out Charlie Kirk at that college, puts a furry meme on the bullet casings with a Helldivers 2 joke on a casing and some other jokes on the casing with the sole intent of sliming this man, and then forcing us to see the joke after he does it. So the crescendo isn't even the slaying of Charlie Kirk. The crescendo is the jokes afterwards. This man trolled him, his family, and his brand for like the rest of his life, for the history books. It's like I just watched like Jin from League of Legends just create a work of art. He's like the troll king now.
That gives you the flavor, I think. Needless to say, there'll be more copycats.
Yeah.
Like, they're loving it. And you can especially see how when you've got a bunch of people whose development was affected by COVID lockdowns in a big way, like crucial parts of development, who've only ever known Trumpist politics. I'm not having a go at Trump here. I'm talking the era, the entire era. Right? They have no economic hope whatsoever. And all their information for their entire life has been received through polarizing algorithms. I'm not sure we've worked out how to deal with this yet.
No.
I really don't.
No.
I'm not sure we as a society in terms of like media and stuff are even aware of it.
Well,
what we're dealing with.
This was one of the things that really like brought it home to me was just having absolutely no idea what any of this meant. And like nor did the initial people who actually examined the bullets. Yeah. Either. It was only when these things came out and people like that were able to decode exactly what they meant. And it's, this is another world to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, wasn't that guy, don't you reckon that guy was like the comic book guy from The Simpsons come to life? Just without the ponytail?
Yes, he was.
Yes. Anyway. The FBI, by the way, is investigating at least 7 different accounts on social media who seem to have foreknowledge of the assassination coming.
Right.
One of them, on September 3, posted, "It'd be funny if someone like Charlie Kirk got shot on September 10th, LMAO." Another one on August 6th posted, "September 10th will be a very interesting day." And then after Kirk's assassination, they followed up with, "I plead the 5th. Was this something Robertson was talking about? I can't even say his name. Was this something that the shooter was talking about amongst their mates online? We don't know. But maybe. I do know, I mean, maybe he was pissed off at Charlie Kirk's anti-trans talk, but the context, this context they're talking about, made it more likely that he'd shoot him in response.
Yes.
Maybe it's a combination. Maybe it's a bit of both. I don't know. But I do know that the next time someone's pissed off from these communities, they'd be more likely to shoot someone as well.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. So I just want to flag all that stuff because I just think it's getting talked about nearly enough. Okay, let's talk about the boycotts, the response from the right, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, J.D. Vance, the vice president, endorsed doxing.
Yes.
But you have a role too. Civil society, Charlie understood this well, is not just something that flows from the government. It flows from each and every one of us. It flows from all of us. So when you see someone celebrating Charlie's murder, call them out. And hell, call their employer. We don't believe in political violence, but we do believe in civility. And there is no civility in the celebration of political assassination. Get involved. Get involved. Get involved. It's the best way to honor Charlie's legacy.
Okay, so they're all listening to JD, and a bunch of conservatives started expose Charlie's murderers. Like anyone criticising Kirk is responsible for his murder.
Yes.
Little anti-free speech.
Look, I got to say, Vance is absolutely right that this is the best way to honour Charlie Kirk's memory. Because Charlie Kirk's most significant contribution to civil society was developing networked harassment in order to try to get people fired.
The political hit list.
Absolutely. This is a continuation of Charlie Kirk's work.
Sorry, the professor's watch list.
Yes.
Yeah, the professor's watch list.
Yeah.
That's his legacy. You're absolutely right. They've now they've changed the name from Expose Charlie's Murderers to the Charlie Kirk Data Foundation. That sounds more respectable, doesn't it?
Yes. Although I think they took it down pretty quickly, didn't they?
Isn't it still up? I might be wrong.
Well, they might have put it back up, but initially there was some big thing, like they had tens of thousands of entries.
60,000.
Yeah, and then suddenly it disappeared. I'm guessing that a lot of those 60,000 entries were people sending in quotes of mean things that conservatives had said about him previously.
There was probably a bit of that.
There was probably a lot of that.
They've also got a thread called the Trophy Case, which has 100 firings, which they're putting together as they go. I mean, what's your thoughts on all this stuff? Because what the conservatives would say, they'd say this is what the left used to call consequence culture, not cancel culture. Like this is still free speech. You have the free speech to be a dickhead, and then we have the free speech to enforce consequences on you through your employer. Why should your employer hire someone who's such an asshole as you for celebrating Charlie Kirk's death? What's your response to that?
My response to that is this really highlights that the biggest threats to freedom of speech come from employers. They don't come directly from the government, although the government, as we can see there, can definitely encourage the threat that employers already pose. But this has been the case for a long time. Not just in terms of the very limited scope that people have to criticize their employers at work, but not long after social media became a thing, employers started developing, policies around social media use, which was particularly true of anybody in a public institution.
Yep.
The right recognizes that this is the most effective way to enforce it. It is through people's employers. Now, certainly, this has worked in the other direction before as well. There are plenty of people who have lost their jobs in the past after getting called out for racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic comments, right? The difference is that in those cases, there was usually some sort of possibility that they were, if not violating anti-discrimination law, that they were targeting categories of people who are protected under anti-discrimination law.
Yeah.
Okay. So protected categories. This is what that kind of policing on the left, that's what it was usually about. It usually wasn't about getting people fired just because they were a Trump supporter or something like that. Now, there certainly were some instances where you could argue it wasn't about protected categories, and conservatives got fired for talking about their beliefs. The two examples that I'm thinking of, and I'm not thinking of individual examples, I'm thinking of general examples, there were people who got fired from various jobs, especially in the media, for promoting the idea that the 2020 election was stolen.
Yep.
And there were people got fired for promoting COVID misinformation, although that was rarely firings. That was more to do with deplatforming of social media accounts and things like that. So, yes, this has happened before, but my biggest problem, apart from the fact that it sort of, the threat to free speech that employers pose is just from what I've seen, a lot of the people who are allegedly celebrating Charlie Kirk's death weren't doing anything of the sort.
Yes.
They were pointing out the problems with Charlie Kirk. This is, so Karen Attiah, who got fired from the Washington Post, she wasn't celebrating his death. She was pointing out some of the things that he had said that had targeted black women.
Yeah, although we might disagree on this one. That is one of the very few ones where I wouldn't have sacked her.
Yeah.
But I would have reprimanded her as her boss or maybe even suspended her because she misquoted Charlie Kirk.
She did misquote Charlie Kirk.
In quote marks. And I think that for a journalist, that's pretty bad. And the fact that she, to this day, still hasn't admitted that she misquoted him, that really grinds my gears.
So this was the quote about Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yeah, the one we played.
Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
She condensed that, as many people have done. She just condensed that to black
women.
Yeah.
But that does change the meaning. Yeah, I've talked before about my sort of fact-checking method and how if I think that someone is trustworthy as a writer or as a respectable newspaper or something like that, I'll trust them when they quote someone. Like I go, okay, a professional journalist can quote someone, and I'll trust them. I'm not going to trust her anymore. Like she's got form of misquoting people. So so that to me is pretty bad.
I don't know. I think a misquotation that was a repetition of a very common misquotation that happened within a few hours, basically of the event.
She never corrected it. She's never apologized for it. She's never even admitted she did it. She's written about it, and when she wrote about it afterwards, she said, "And I used his exact language." You go, no, you didn't. Like, you misquoted him. Anyway, we can. That might just be my particular hobby horse, but like that. But I mean, I got a bunch here where I just go, hang on, that's not like Karen attire. like for instance, there was a professor at Austin Peay State University. All he did was post a screenshot of a 2023 Newsweek article with the headline, "Charlie Kirk says gun deaths unfortunately worth it to keep Second Amendment." That's all he posted.
Yes.
Just a screenshot of a headline, which was accurate.
Yes, yeah.
And the university said the post was insensitive, disrespectful, and interpreted by many as propagating justification for unlawful death. His termination letter, he was sacked. His termination letter said, due to recent social media posts that have caused significant reputational damage to the university.
I want to go back to something I said right at the beginning about how, your condemnation of murder shouldn't be conditional on whether you thought the person was a great person or not. Underlying this sort of response, where if you're tweeting something about the victim not being a great person, therefore you're justifying their murder, what does that say about that, about the person who is responding in that way, right? It's basically saying that if you're not celebrating this person, then you're advocating their murder.
Yes.
Or if you're criticizing this person, then you're advocating their murder.
Yes.
Right? Now, that I think is perilously close to what this administration is all about. That if people are bad enough, then they can be murdered. So when I hear JD Vance banging on about that, what I'm actually hearing is JD Vance, suggesting that because we live in a world where some people are so bad that they can be murdered, that if you're saying bad things about Charlie Kirk, then you're suggesting that he should be murdered. Now, that is not everything that's going on there. Like from the university, I just think it was a, overcautious overreaction, probably advised by lawyers who are doing everything that they can to, to minimize the risk involved. But it is incredibly dangerous to get yourself into this world where there's no middle ground between celebration and murder.
Yeah.
That if someone can be criticized, that means that they can be murdered. That's a very dangerous position to be in.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
By the way, one more example, which I was just blown away by. A reporter with Florida Politics asked Congressman Randy Fine by text if Charlie Kirk getting shot affects your position on campus carry.
Right.
Fine said he was repulsed the reporter would ask that, and he posted both the question and his response online. Within an hour, the editor of Florida Politics had suspended the reporter, saying they lacked basic empathy.
I mean, this is one of the instances where he's not even making a comment about Charlie Kirk.
No, he's not.
I can understand huge fans of Charlie Kirk getting upset whenever anyone said anything negative about him. This is the first time in the now more than a week that I've said anything at all about Charlie Kirk. I didn't particularly want to say anything negative about him immediately after he's been murdered. I understand that. But yes, we're seeing people getting fired for questions about gun violence. Yeah, that are not even about Charlie Kirk himself. Yeah.
And all these ones that we're talking about are the good ones.
Yeah.
Because they're at least not the government doing it.
Yes.
Because then we get into the government, which is full on sacking people. Like Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, he stood down pilots because he said they were celebrating Kirk's assassination, as if that's got anything to do with being a pilot.
Yeah.
He said this behaviour is disgusting and they should be fired. The government can't sack someone for expressing a political opinion.
No.
Hexeth is doing it. He's sweeping through the military. I'm going to read Laura Loomer's contribution because Hexeth was crowdsourcing people to sack.
Yeah, yeah.
This is her contribution. You're not going to believe this. Meet Gavin Sylvia, a he, him, who displays his pronouns in his bio. He's currently employed as a data analyst with FEMA, a DHS agency. Yesterday, he posted on Instagram, half-mast for the literal racist, homophobe, misogynist, BFFR. This was his response to Charlie Kirk being assassinated. BFFR means be fucking for real. His father is a major general in the United States Army and currently serves at the Pentagon. He was nominated for a 3rd star by Joe Biden. Gavin's brother is married to a Muslim woman. He made a post with his grandmother pretending to vomit on the Trump Tower sign in New York. These people hate us. They don't belong near the levers of our national power. Please fire Gavin Sylvia. Pete Hegseth should also review the employment of Gavin's father, Major General Brett Sylvia. She wants to fire someone for being the father of someone who said something she doesn't like about Charlie Kirk. That's a government situation as well.
I think the worst one that I saw, I didn't see it, I saw it described in an article on Defector, was... So one of Trump's responses was to order all United States flags to half-mast.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, we talked a little bit about the flag last week, 2 weeks ago. One of the things we might have mentioned is the vast majority of American flags out there are not on government property and are not owned by the United States government. And... Anyway, so when you're ordering all flags to half-mast, I'm not sure if it was clear in the executive order whether that was just flags on government property or whether everybody who has an American flag is now obliged to lower it to half-mast. And, I mean, for those of you who maybe haven't been to the US, like, you will go past a car dealership that is surrounded by... 12 American flags.
Yeah.
There are neighborhoods you can go through where people have just got them hanging on flagpoles that overlook their front doors. You can even go to some very special neighborhoods where people are hanging the American flag upside down as a result of disputes that they're having with neighbors.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway.
Not name any names.
Yeah. Anyway, the GOP chairman of Oakland County in Michigan, I think it was Oakland, it might have been Macomb County. Anyway, this is suburban Detroit and a fairly conservative area. He was actually encouraging people on X to try to find examples of local businesses that had not lowered the flag on Sunday.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so they could be named and shamed.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, a few people answered. So now,
That's
there's now some tire depot or something, which is probably getting hate mail. Because,
Do we have any thoughts about the crackdown on the groups? Because that's the other area they're talking about.
Right.
Like, they've already talked about Antifa.
Yes. Yeah.
Antifa. Trump's already declared, I am pleased to inform our many USA patriots that I am designating Antifa a sick, dangerous, radical left disaster as a major terrorist organization. I will also be strongly recommending that those funding Antifa be thoroughly investigated in accordance with the highest legal standards and practices. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Drink. Antifa might want to drink. Have you seen what he does to terrorists off the coast of Venezuela?
Yeah. So a few things about this.
Yeah.
First of all, as it's been widely pointed out, the government can't designate an American organization as a terrorist organization because the US government has failed for like 20 years now to introduce legislation against domestic terrorism. Guess where the opposition to legislating against domestic terrorism usually comes from? It comes from the Republican Party because they're afraid of right-wing groups being targeted by it. So only foreign organizations can be designated as terrorist organizations, and Marco Rubio,
Yes.
the Secretary of State, he is the one who is responsible for that list. Okay. However, the United States government can designate American individuals as terrorists. Right. And there are 4,000 people currently designated as terrorists in the United States. So Trump doesn't have the immediate power to designate Antifa, which, as it has been pointed out on many occasions, is not actually an organization. Like there would be actual organizations that have Antifa in the title, but Antifa is not an actual organization. I don't know if Trump's ever seen Antifa before, but let's put it this way. They are not lavishly funded.
No, don't get that vibe.
There's always this right-wing fantasy that left-wing activists or protesters of some kind must be, funded by these left-wing billionaires. Now, this is just pure projection because of the fact that the Charlie Kirks of this world, they were very well funded by Republican donors. As much as Turning Point USA was described as a youth organization, as much as being a youth organization, it was basically a massive donation harvesting machine from septuagenarians. Yeah. It was like there were a lot of old people donating a lot of money to Turning Point USA. So it's hard to say how much legal teeth this idea of designating Antifa as a terrorist. I'm sure Trump's actually tried to do this before.
I reckon part of this, I think he might have. I think part of this is also just him just wanting an excuse to be able to crack down on them. Like, did you see when he got protested against in the restaurant in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah.
Okay, so you wouldn't say that was high budget.
Who paid for the world's smallest Palestinian flag?
But this is look, but you're joking, but look what Trump had to say about them.
You see, they're professional agitators. I had one the other night. I had 4 the other night, all in one group, total phonies. I started to scream when I got into a restaurant, something with Palestine. And I said, well, I'm doing a great job for peace in the Middle East. I should get lots of awards for that, right? With the Abraham Accords and everything else. But a woman just stood up and started screaming. And she got booed out of the place, too. There were a lot of people in the restaurant. I went there to show how safe, and it was safe. I mean, the woman is just a mouthpiece. All she was a paid agitator. And you have a lot of them. And I've asked Pam to look into that in terms of RICO, bringing RICO cases against it, criminal RICO, because they should be put in jail. What they're doing to this country is really subversive.
Just protesting now is subversive, really subversive.
Professional agitators. They couldn't even chant in time.
It was a charge of racketeering.
Yeah.
You know what that is? That is the legal version of his bullshit lawsuits.
Yes.
Like with the lawsuits, he doesn't expect the lawsuits to be treated like real lawsuits.
No.
They're just threats in the form of a lawsuit.
Yes, yeah.
That's a threat in the form of a RICO theory.
Yes.
But
I mean, throughout both Trump presidencies, there's been this obsession with paid agitators.
Yeah.
Because the 2 Trump presidencies have seen the biggest protests in the United States since the civil rights era, possibly even bigger.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, in terms of how many people were involved in the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020 and then the No Kings protest. That is a lot of people.
Yeah.
That is millions of people. And yes, so rather than, acknowledging that there are actually people who want to protest against Trump, they're paid agitators. I'm hearing the term left-wing billionaires a lot.
Oh, yeah, because Vance has already been talking about the Ford Foundation and Soros and
yes,
presumably that's the next step is to take tax exemptions off some of these NGOs.
Now, the specific reason that he gave was because of an article in The Nation
Which isn't funded by either the Soros
No.
or the Ford Foundation.
Now, we're going to put this article in the homework
Yeah, okay,
because
cool.
I really want you to read this article, which Vance claimed. Vance says is a disgusting
Yes.
article. It very much criticizes Charlie Kirk's politics. It doesn't celebrate his murder. Makes it very clear that she's very against the murder. But it goes in pretty hard on his politics. A healthy political movement would be able to withstand criticism like that, rather than to say that this article is so bad that we need to defund two unrelated organisations that once had something to do with the nation.
Yes.
So back in 2017, I think it was the Ford Foundation funded some internship at the nation.
Okay.
That's
what they're talking about.
Yeah, to the tune of $12,000 or something, which, as the nation's pointed out, was less than 1% of its income that year. That was in 2017. The Open Society Foundation and the nation have both contributed to this fund that pays that supports freelance journalists.
Right. Okay.
Some freelance journalists write for the nation. Not this journalist though. She is not one of the recipients of those funds. So it's two organisations that did not contribute anything to this particular article that JD Vance found so offensive.
Right. I
Yes.
see.
And he's talking about wanting to strip them of their tax privileges. Now, I mean, it is pretty frightening stuff.
Yeah.
I would point out, do you remember a few months ago, Trump kept talking about stripping Harvard of its tax-exempt status?
Yes.
Have you heard anything about it since then?
Well, I've heard they lost the case.
Yeah, that one died very quietly. That. This is the thing. That is actually very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of the legal cost and political cost of trying to do that, they're probably not actually going to do that.
But, Dave, that's fine against Soros.
Yeah.
He'll be able to defend himself.
Exactly.
in court.
Yes.
It's going to be a smaller group.
It is. Yes. Yeah.
And he's going to start calling them supporters of terrorism. And,
Right.
Yeah, you can see where it's going.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially given, at the same time as he's making up this RICO shit, he's got the Deputy Attorney General supporting this. Have a look at Todd Blanchard's response.
As you know, RICO has been used to go after Al-Qaeda, MS-13, the Gambino family. How would something like that protest fall under a RICO charge?
That's not what we use RICO for only. RICO is available to all kinds of organizations committing crimes and committing wrongful acts, not just organized crime or ISIS or terrorist organizations. And so it depends. So is it, again, sheer happenstance that individuals show up at a restaurant where the president is trying to enjoy dinner in Washington, D.C., and accost him with vile words and vile anger, and meanwhile he's simply trying to have dinner? Does it mean it's just completely random that they showed up? Maybe, but to the extent that it's part of an organized effort to inflict harm and terror and damage to the United States, there's potential investigations there, and that's what the president was saying yesterday in the Oval Office, and what he also has said in the days before that as well.
But were those women in the restaurant inflicting harm or terror or damage by protesting the president of the United States? I mean, they were just shouting basically in his vicinity.
I mean, repeat what you just said. I mean, honestly, so you're asking whether there's damage done by four individuals screaming and yelling at the president of our United States while he's trying to have dinner. That can't be a serious question. That cannot be a serious question.
I can't believe I'm listening to that.
That is amazing. First of all, I actually thought it was 5 individuals.
Yeah.
I'm even less impressed by that protest. Now that he's pointed out there were 4 individuals. Yeah. It's great.
He's seriously arguing that interrupting His Majesty's dinner is hurting the country.
He does seem to suggest that a protest wouldn't be subject to RICO action as long as it's completely random.
Yes.
As long as people have shown up at random.
Independently.
Yeah, independently to a restaurant
Yes.
with the world's smallest Palestinian flag,
Yes.
then okay, yes. But if they haven't actually arrived at the protest location by random means, RICO.
Yes.
That means it's organised.
I mean, like, it's funny because they're so hopeless, and that's never going to work.
No.
But they just need to just keep on trying shit, and eventually it does. And especially given some of them are more competent than others.
Yes.
We're just about to talk about Jimmy Kimmel, undoubtedly.
Yes.
Brendan Carr is the most competent of all of them. He gets shit done.
Yes.
And like it becomes a lot scarier when they're competent.
Yes.
And they're doing the same crap as that.
Yes,
You know?
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. What did you say?
No, yeah.
Well, I mean, let's go on to Jimmy Kimmel. I'm just looking at the clock.
Yes.
Because I know you wanted to talk about that. So why don't you just go on Jimmy Kimmel?
Okay.
Yeah.
So the background to Jimmy Kimmel's firing was this. He gave a monologue where, among other things, he said that he kind of made this...
We'll just play it. We'll just play it.
Yeah.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. Okay. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
Okay, so that's him on
So the three things that people got upset about were the idea that the shooter might be MAGA affiliated in some way, and that the administration was trying to distance themselves from him.
Yeah, and that Jimmy was lying about that.
Yes.
That he was making out that their shooter was a Republican.
Yes. So that was the first thing. Yeah. The second thing was suggesting that Republicans are trying to score political points from Charlie Kirk's murder, which I have to say is a pretty self-evident thing. And third thing, talking about how Trump didn't seem very upset about it, given that when he was asked about it by a reporter, he started talking about the White House ballroom renovation.
Yes.
Okay. So shortly after that, Brendan Fraser, who is...
Brendan Carr.
Brendan Carr.
I wish it was Brendan Fraser.
Oh, dear.
I got a lot more trust of that guy.
I apologise to Brendan Fraser.
Yep.
I haven't even thought about Brendan Fraser in years, whereas I'm thinking about Brendan Carr all the time. Anyway, Brendan Carr, who's the head of the Federal Communications Commission, went on the highly reputable podcast of Benny Johnson.
Can I just stop you right there?
Yes.
Just for a split second, just to make a very important point.
Yes.
You said very soon after. It wasn't very soon after. That Jimmy Kimmel's monologue was on Monday.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, nothing happened.
Right.
No one did anything.
Okay.
That's that's very important.
Yes.
Because then on Wednesday, then Brendan Carr turned up on Benny Johnson's podcast.
Yes.
And go for it.
Okay. And he, he was appalled by this monologue from Jimmy Kimmel, and he said that the FCC could take action against broadcast channels that broadcast Jimmy Kimmel's work. All right, and he said, we can do this the easy way or the hard way.
I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead.
Note, he's talking about TV stations there.
Yes.
Which is what the FCC regulates. We've got to draw a distinction between TV stations and TV networks.
Yes.
So TV networks, which are things like ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, they produce all of this content, which is then carried by TV stations. They don't own the TV stations, but they have all of these networks of affiliates across the country. So if you go to any town in America, you'll be watching WGBN or something, which might be an ABC affiliate or a Fox affiliate. That they carry all of this content from those networks.
Yeah.
The FCC can't. It does have some regulatory power over the networks, but it can't revoke their licenses.
No.
They don't have licenses. It's the TV stations that have the licenses. So what he was saying is these TV stations should put pressure on those networks.
He actually went on. Let's play a little bit more.
Yep.
And there's actions that we can take on licensed broadcasters. And frankly, I think that it's really sort of past time that a lot of these licensed broadcasters themselves push back on Comcast and Disney and say, listen, we are going to preempt. We are not going to run Kimmel anymore until you straighten this out, because we licensed broadcaster, are running the possibility of fines or license revocations from the FCC if we continue to run content that ends up being a pattern of news distortion. So I think, again, Disney needs to see some change here, but the individual licensed stations that are taking their content, it's time for them to step up and say, this, garbage, to the extent that that's what comes down the pipe in the future, isn't something that we think serves the needs of our local communities. But this sort of status quo is obviously not acceptable where we are.
Pattern of news distortion.
Interesting, isn't it?
Jimmy Kimmel is not news.
No. And by the way,
yes,
what he was saying wasn't untrue.
No.
News distortion is running deliberately false news.
Yes.
As you say, he's not a news broadcaster. What he was, the first thing, one of the things he did was a joke. The first thing which everyone was so objected to so much was him lying about the shooter being Republican. He didn't say that.
No.
He said MAGA were trying to distance themselves that the shooter was anything but one of them.
Yes, yeah.
It didn't say, but the shooter is one of them.
No.
You could argue he implied it.
Yeah, yeah.
But he certainly didn't say it. What he said was they were just trying to distance themselves.
And what I was thinking about when he said that is I can certainly see there's an implication there. But when you bear in mind things like the governor of Utah saying, I wish I could say that the shooter was an immigrant or, was someone from out of state, but it turns out he's one of us. It's like there was this kind of level of disbelief that this could be someone from a Republican family in Utah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but just what you've just seen there is Brendan Carr basically saying we will threaten the licenses of these broadcast networks unless they then put pressure on, the broadcast channels, unless they put pressure on the networks to not have content that Brendan Carr, massive Trump fan, see as garbage.
He told them that exactly what he would do to them.
Yes.
And he told them what to do about it if they wanted to stop it.
Now, what he was suggesting they could do, once again, that is a little bit like in the league of threatening to revoke tax-exempt status. It would actually be very difficult to do. There are very few instances of the FCC revoking broadcast licenses or even handing down the kinds of fines that he claims. These would be very legally challengeable, but that wasn't what the real threat was at all.
Before you say the real threat, let me just say one more thing about that.
Yes, yeah.
Which is that there's the news distortion complaint has no leg to stand on.
No.
Okay, that's going nowhere.
Yes.
But he's demonstrated to them already this year that he is prepared to run with a bullshit news distortion complaint as long as he needs to make their life hard.
Yes, yeah.
Because that's what he did with 60 Minutes.
Yes.
The entire time that news distortion complaint was garbage.
Yes.
No one thought it was going anywhere, but he just kept on drilling them with it until he'd punished them enough.
Yeah, yeah.
And so these guys know he means it.
Yeah.
And the threat is a real threat.
Yeah, yeah.
And so even when he doesn't have the power to do something, he can threaten them with the process of finding out that he can't do it.
Yes.
Which is punishment in itself. But as you say, that's only the minor league punishment. The major league punishment is something else.
Okay. So there's a company called Nexstar that owns a lot of TV stations that are ABC affiliates. Nexstar is currently in the process of doing a deal to buy a rival. I've only seen its name spelt out. I haven't heard it. It's Tegna. I'm just going to presume it rhymes with Xenia. So we'll say, Tegna.
Okay.
Yes. That wants to buy Tegna. That would give Nexstar a foothold in 265 TV stations, which is more than 80% of media markets in the United States. Current FCC rules are that you can't have a hold in more than 39% of media markets in the United States. Now, this deal will require FCC approval. In the lead up to this, and there's an article in the homework from August, which I want you to look to point out that this has been in the works for a while, and that they've been buttering up the Trump administration for a while, and that the Trump administration has been making encouraging noises about this for a while because they see Nexstar as a political ally, same as Sinclair, which is the other company that potentially wants to buy Tegna. Yes. But the point is, yes, even though it would be very, very hard for Brendan Carr to actually revoke licenses, it would be incredibly easy for the FCC to say no to this deal because it would just be following the government's own rules about how many media markets you're supposed to be able to own. So before we even get to really Kimmel himself and the free speech implications, I just want to point out this is the second time this year that a comedian has been taken off air because an already massive and monopolistic media company wanted to become more massive and monopolistic and needed the Trump administration's approval to do it.
Yeah.
This is an issue that goes beyond free speech, as important as that is an issue, into the absolutely rotten quality of commercial media in the United States because it is run by people who don't actually care about media before. As I've pointed out, it's run by profit maximizers who are largely overall pretty friendly to Trump's aims and Trump's business approaches. They are just about creating monopolies because that's the only way to actually make a profit in media these days, an industry which is inherently not particularly profitable. And in order to do it, they are completely prepared to pay the political price that Trump wants to extract because so many of them are pretty sympathetic towards Trump anyway.
That's well put.
Yes.
It's very frustrating. I mean, and so the net result is they're now pretending, Nexstar are pretending that Jimmy Kimmel said something super offensive.
Yes, totally at odds with the values of our communities. I think the quote was, they shouldn't be hearing this in Utah or Pennsylvania.
What is it? We strongly object to recent comments made by Mr. Kimmel concerning the killing of Charlie Kirk. He didn't even mention the killing of Charlie Kirk.
Did not mention Charlie Kirk at all.
And we will replace the show with other programming. Yeah. His comments about the death of Mr. Kirk are offensive and insensitive at a critical time in our national political discourse. Continuing to give Mr. Kimmel a broadcast platform in the communities we serve is simply not in the public interest at the current time. Just to remind you, if this had been just a network, just had a conservative boss who just said, no, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
You're off the air. I wouldn't even raise two hoots on that. That's their right. It's their station. No problems. But here's the timeline, which is why I emphasized this before.
Yeah.
Happens on Monday.
Yes.
Tuesday, nothing happens. Wednesday, Brendan Carr pops up. He makes this an issue. He threatens them. He tells them what they should do. Within an hour, they do exactly what he told them to do.
Yes.
So that just proves it's the government who forced them to do it.
Yes.
By bullying them. It's just a blatant, open and shut infringement of the First Amendment. But no one's going to sue them because no one has standing.
No.
Except for
Jimmy Kimmel.
Nexstar.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's infuriating. You got any other thoughts about this?
Well, okay, so as far as victims go, Jimmy Kimmel can look after himself pretty well.
Yeah,
right?
sure. But
I mean, he is there was a lot of talk about how he was coming towards the end of his contract anyway, and he wasn't really thinking about renewing it. He would have known that there was a risk involved, which he was prepared to take. So, I think it's very, very bad that this has happened, just in terms of what this does to the media environment.
Yeah, every one of these is a precedent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's I was going to say that is what I'm most worried about.
Yeah.
Is the precedent that this is setting.
Also, I feel really sorry for Jimmy Kimmel. As someone who's been in the middle of controversies myself in the past, I feel really sorry for the guy that the subject of his the monologue that got the outrage was really lame. You hate it when the monologue everyone's going to see on the news,
a good one,
over and over again, is just shit. He's had some good monologues.
Yeah.
All the ones to be controversial, this one.
Yeah.
Most of the monologue isn't even a joke. You just go, oh my God. Oh, poor guy.
And I mean, obviously, it's not just him who's losing his job. It's all of his staff as well. It's everybody who works on the show.
Okay, Dave, you got about 10-15. What do you want to finish on? You can talk about your left wing violence. You can talk about all your other topics. You know all the topics that you listed before. Talk about whatever you want.
Yes. Look, I want to talk about the other big thing that happened last week.
Please.
Which was Jair Bolsonaro getting sentenced to 22 years in jail.
Go for it.
So there has been this investigation going on for a long time into the exactly what was going on in the 2022 election in Brazil and what role Bolsonaro might have had in it. Because at this point, there is no doubt that there was an assassination plan. It was an assassination plan against Lula, against Judge Moraes, who's been the one overseeing this case, and I'm blanking on who there was a third. There was a third planned assassination. Bolsonaro has denied any knowledge of that assassination plan. Right, but it is it's widely acknowledged. One of the things that he was convicted of was that he was actually involved in the plan. There were secretaries that testified that there were printed copies of the assassination plan actually brought to him in his office. The other thing was that there were documents. There was a draft executive order to nullify the results of the 2022 election. And there were plans for a military coup.
Yes.
Okay? So why didn't this happen? Because the military wouldn't go along with it in the end. And there are members of the military that have testified, including members of the military that have testified in order to save their own skin. Okay? So to me, this looks like justice being done pretty legitimately. 4 out of 5 judges voted to convict. Now, admittedly, 4 out of 5 of them are appointed by they are Lula appointees. So yes, that has to be acknowledged. But this does seem to have been a fairly thorough investigation that has resulted in fairly damning evidence against Bolsonaro. And the thing is, everyone in Brazil has known for months that this is the likely outcome, including Bolsonaro himself. That's why Bolsonaro sent his son to Florida to lobby Trump constantly. Yes, having sort of oafish sons seems to be almost like this necessary accessory for your modern day autocrat. Yes. So anyway, one of them has been in Mar-a-Lago constantly lobbying Trump. And we've talked about what this has resulted in. 50% tariffs against Brazilian products, with important exceptions, like orange juice, for example.
Yes.
But with notable non-exceptions such as coffee and beef.
Yes.
So if you're a real American, having your real American breakfast of orange juice, coffee and beef, look, 2 of those products are going to be pretty heavily tariffed if they're coming from Brazil.
Now, Marco Rubio has said the political persecutions by sanctioned human rights abuser Alexandre de Moraes continue as he and others on Brazil's Supreme Court have unjustly ruled to imprison former President Jair Bolsonaro. The United States will respond accordingly to this witch hunt.
Right.
What's your response to that?
Yes, so Moraes, as I said, was one of the people whose assassination was being planned. Now, these sanctions and these tariffs have not worked very coercively well against Brazil. In fact, they've caused all kinds of backfire effects. Even Bolsonaro himself was saying that he didn't agree with the tariffs on Brazil. This has significantly boosted Lula's popularity. And Lula's popularity was not great heading into the election next year. He's actually got a chance of winning the election next year, basically on a national sovereignty platform. It's quite significant because Bolsonaro had been the one who had been able to sort of monopolize nationalist symbolism in politics. Like, his supporters were all wearing Brazil soccer jerseys, the very distinctive yellow jerseys. I knew Brazilians who absolutely hated this because they were so passionate about the national soccer team, which had just been completely appropriated by Bolsonaro as this national symbol. But now people on the left are able to reclaim this national symbolism because they're being threatened by the United States. Economically, it's had bad effects on Brazil, but not as bad as you might think, because China is now Brazil's number one trading partner.
Yes.
And this is undoubtedly pushing Brazil a little bit closer towards China. So I don't know where the United States is going to go from here. I mean, they've already sanctioned two judges pretty severely. They've already put just about the highest tariffs on Brazil that they've put on any country, albeit they could expand the number of products involved, but I don't know whether they're willing to do that to McDonald's prices. So I'm not sure where the United States is going to go, but this was another example of the fact that at the moment, probably the most significant resistance that the Trump administration is facing is from overseas. How much time have we got left?
10 minutes.
Okay. But one place where the Trump administration is not facing much resistance overseas is the UK, because Trump had a downright lovely trip to the UK this week. This was the trip where he finally got everything that he wanted. He got the royal visit. He got the carriage procession.
He's wanted a carriage for a long time.
Yes. Yeah. He got not only Keir Starmer, but various British notables constantly telling him how great he is.
He got white horses.
He got white horses.
Yes.
He got all of this.
Yes.
And I remember in the early days of the first Trump administration, people kind of trying to, reach back into Trump's childhood to find out where his psychology came from. And one thing that people pointed out was he remembered his mother, who was Scottish, watching the coronation of Queen Elizabeth in 1952. This would have been when he was 6 years old.
Yep.
And he would have seen all of this enormous pageantry and the white horses and the carriage and gold. So much gold. Anyway, so why did he get this treatment from Britain? Because there's a lot of things that Britain wants from the United States, and everybody has figured out how to get those things. Okay. So there was a rather bizarre press conference that took place this morning, Australian time.
Yep, I don't know about this.
With Donald Trump and Keir Starmer. Just to point out two of the more bizarre things that happened. Keir Starmer was actually adopting downright Trump kind of rhetoric when he was talking about the investment pledges of American companies in the United Kingdom. $150 billion
right.
of investments, which will bring about 700 new jobs to the UK. Now, a lot of reporters looked at that. They're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
$150 billion in investment. Sorry, pounds in investment. Yeah, 700 new jobs. Someone put the figure, it was something like 20 million pounds per job, which means something isn't quite adding up there. But let's just say I'm incredibly skeptical by this point about any claim that anyone makes about we're getting hundreds of billions of pounds/dollars worth of foreign investment. This seems to be the symbolic token that you take.
Even if they're only promising 700 jobs?
Even if they're only, that was, yeah. Yeah, that was the amazing thing.
But man, they're good jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, incredibly good jobs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Trump went on his usual rambling, claiming that Jimmy Kimmel got fired for low ratings.
Yeah.
I don't know if he said anything about the White House ballroom, but like the chances have to be pretty good that he did, but I don't know if he did. It caused widespread confusion by talking for the third time in the space of a week about how he had brought peace to the long-running conflict between Albania and Azerbaijan.
Okay.
Now, just to recap, he's talking about Armenia and Azerbaijan.
Yes.
The peace deal was actually done a little while ago, but as we talked about, Trump was sort of closing the deal by putting in this feature that both Armenia and Azerbaijan liked, or at least professed to like, of American control of the of this trade corridor. But the fact that he's referring to Armenia as Albania suggests he might not be entirely across the details of this conflict.
Yes.
Okay, but it wasn't all beer and Skittles for Trump in the UK. It was not all sunshine and teddy bears because of an incredibly rude and disrespectful and ungrateful Australian reporter called John Lyons.
Oh, yes.
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 Now, for those of you who don't know him, he's the Washington correspondent for the ABC.
Yeah.
He's had a very distinguished career. He was a Middle East correspondent for The Australian for a long time. And the book that he wrote about this, The Jerusalem Balcony, I read it a few years ago. It was very good.
But not good enough for the book list.
Yeah, we can put it on the book list.
That's the equivalent of Donald Trump's endorsement of Kash Patel from before. Yeah,
No, it was good. I don't want to undermine.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the book list, fine.
Yes. Anyway, have we got the clip of?
We've got it. We've got it. Just before we play it.
Yes.
I mean, it's okay. We got the time. I was going to take 2 minutes just to do the background of the story he was asking about, because this has not gotten enough attention.
Yes, yeah.
The New York Times had a report out this week. Got very little attention, given it's probably the biggest financial scandal ever. Because back in May,
yes,
Zach Witkoff, Steve Witkoff's son, announced at a Dubai conference, sitting next to Eric Trump at the time.
Yep.
That Emirati royal Sheikh Tanoon bin Zayed Al Nahyan had invested $2 billion from the Sovereign Wealth Fund of the UAE in World Liberty Financial, which is a cryptocurrency company owned by Trump and Witkoff.
Yes.
The Trump family owns 60% of it. Okay,
Yes.
They bought World Liberty stable coin in particular. Okay, according to Binance, that was the single largest investment in a crypto company that the world has ever seen.
Yes.
Now, we should note Trump very soon after did make stablecoin mainstreaming legislation a real priority, just coincidentally. But let's leave that aside.
Yes.
2 weeks later, Trump agrees to allow the UAE to import hundreds of thousands of US-produced super valuable AI computer chips. Many of those chips went to a company controlled by Sheikh Tanoon. Very fortunate for the Sheikh, because the officials in the Trump administration were concerned about the national security implications of this, because the UAE work with China and joint military exercises, and China wasn't allowed to have access to those chips. But the officials who were protesting this were removed. They were removed from the process, and they were replaced by David Sachs, Trump's AI and crypto czar, who also has his own investment firm which deals with World Liberty Financial. But that's, while a massive conflict of interest, it's okay because Trump gave him an ethics waiver, so that's fine. Sachs then shepherded the deal through, so that was great news for everyone involved. Oh, I should say, Steve Witkoff, He did say he was going to divest himself from his son's firm, so there's no conflict of interest, except for that was 4 months ago. He still hasn't done it.
Yep.
But he's a very busy man. He doesn't have time to do this kind of thing. Now, we don't know for a fact those two deals were linked.
Yes.
Maybe it was just a coincidence that the $2 billion payoff to Trump's company and the agreement 2 weeks later to sell the payers a huge number of top security AI chips that security professionals said they shouldn't be able to buy, maybe those two parts were unrelated. But if they, in the unlikely chance they were linked, Dave, that would be the largest public corruption scandal in the history of the world.
It would be.
So the Supreme Court has indeed made it almost impossible to prove bribery these days.
Basically legalised it.
But and the immunity ruling makes it even harder.
Yes.
But that was like the 5th biggest story on one day of the Trump administration.
Yes.
That's what John Lyons was talking about.
That's what John Lyons was
Should we have a look at the clip?
Yes.
Let's go.
Some people are generally regarded to be the wealthiest man who's ever occupied the White House.
I hope so.
How much wealthier are you now than when you returned to the White House?
Well, I don't know. The deals I made, for the most part, other than what my kids are doing, they're running my business. But most of the deals that I've made were made before. And that's what I've done for a life. I built buildings. Like I'm building a building here. You know where I'm building? You know what? Do you see that area?
Yeah.
That is going to be the greatest ballroom anywhere in the world. And for 150, so it gives me pleasure to do it for the country. And I'm paying for it. I'm paying for it. The country's not, and that's an expensive ballroom.
But is it appropriate?
I think it'll cost $250 million, and it will be, I think, the finest ballroom. So for 150 years, John, do you know this? They've wanted a ballroom, and now they're going to finally have it. It's going to be a big one. It's going to knock your socks off.
But is it appropriate, President Trump, that a president in office should be engaged in so much business activity?
Well, I'm really not. My kids are running the business.
But
I'm here.
you are also,
you know what the activity, where are you from?
I'm from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Four Corners program.
Well, the Australians, you're hurting Australia, right? In my opinion, you are hurting Australia very much right now. And they want to get along with me. You know, your leader is coming over to see me very soon. I'm going to tell him about you. You set a very bad tone.
Well,
go ahead,
President
John.
Trump, when the UAE does a deal like
you
that,
can set a nicer
when the
tone.
UAE does a deal, what does it want in return?
Quiet.
Mr. President, what
So that's why he was talking about the UAE. He was building up to that.
Yes.
He's just constantly threatening people.
Yeah, and I think it's good to end on this note because a major theme of today is just how deeply embedded the snitching instinct is in this entire administration. Like, if you say something I don't like, I'm going to tell your superior about this, combined with some threat to the superior. Like, this is basically everything that we have been talking about today.
Yeah, it's true.
Which I don't think is something that Americans would really like to have as part of their self-image, but this is becoming the kind of dominant theme of the Trump administration.
Yeah, and also informal. Using informal structures to bully people and pressure people.
Yes.
Like ignoring whether there's a law, ignoring whether there's something appropriate or whether it's something that's done, or whether you're even allowed to do that. Just, if you can find a way to bully them, you bully them.
Yep.
While that was a perfect ending for the pod, I just need to tell you my John Lyons story.
Oh, yes, please do.
I'm not going to be able to use it any other time.
Okay, yes, please do.
Right. I got a lot of respect for John Lyons because I went on Paul Murray's show a few years back. And whenever I go on Paul Murray, I'm there for them to slag off the ABC ad. And I defend the ABC. That's my job. And I decided to defend the ABC journalists at that point in time. I was slagging off the journos in a way that I thought was both honest and convincing, which was, I said, look, I know a lot of ABC journalists. And I know that many of them are on the left, like many journalists are.
Yes.
But I also think they are extremely professional and they try very hard to not let that affect their work. And as someone who disagrees with them politically, I find their work incredibly valuable. That was my defense.
Yes.
Right? Saying I actually agree with you that they're on the left, but it doesn't affect their work.
Yes.
Right? And John Lyons comes up to me the next day.
Yes.
In the foyer of the ABC and absolutely gives it to me, just screaming at me about throwing other ABC people under the bus. He's saying that that's not on. I'm saying, look, I don't see us as a team that needs to pretend that we're all perfect like a political party.
Yes.
But, besides, I was defending the ABC in my own way that I thought was the most effective way for that audience. And I didn't name anybody. He was absolutely furious. But I got to say, I respected him so much because he wasn't going behind my back.
No.
He wasn't telling my superiors.
Yes.
He was coming right to me. He had a grievance. He came to me and he was very direct.
Yeah.
And what was he doing? He was trying to stand up for his fellow reporters. That's what he was doing.
Yeah.
I think he was wrong, but he seemed to me to be very honest, very impressive person. And I saw him 3 days later and he was all smiles. He'd made his point and we moved on.
Yep.
And I just thought, that guy has serious integrity. And so I wasn't at all surprised to see him try that on Trump and get the shh, quiet now treatment from Trump, which is what Trump does to anyone who tries to show some integrity to him in the press conference.
Yes.
So good on you, John Lyons. Dave, that was brilliant stuff. Thank you so much. I think we have hit the barrier.
Okay.
Much appreciated. Now you are here next week, aren't you? I think you are.
Yes.
This is a patchy few weeks for you. So
Yeah.
So sometimes you're here, sometimes not. I think you are here next week.
Yep. But it'll have to be another Friday podcast.
Yes, that's okay.
Sorry,
That's all right.
you probably won't see it until Saturday morning.
So Saturday morning podcast for you guys.
Yep.
I haven't checked with the supervisor about doing an extra potentially this week. I'm not sure I can. I'm not sure the supervisor will even want me to. But there's so much that's happened. We've got enough for an extra.
Yeah.
So we'll ask him. I'll see if I can. I don't know. Maybe there'll be an extra. Maybe there won't. But if there won't be, it's going to be a pretty crammed next week. I'll tell you that. Till then, till either on Tuesday or Friday, we'll find out. Stay peppy.
Stay peppy.